All right,
All
what's
right,
up,
what's up,
all
all
everyone here?
everyone here?
I hope you
I
guys
hope you
are
guys
great
are
today. I
great
have a
today.
very
I have a
special
very
guest
special guest
in a
in a
collaborative live
collaborative
stream,
live stream,
and a
and
lot of you
a
guys
lot
already
of you
know who
guys
this
already know who
is.
this is.
I know a lot
I
of
know a
his
lot of
people are
his
already in the
people are
chat.
already in
I
the
see
chat. I
Master
see
Licky,
Master Licky.
but please give me
But
a
please
thumbs
give me
up
a
if you
thumbs
guys
up if
can
you
hear
guys can
me,
hear
and then
me,
I'll let
and then I'll
Garo
let
speak
Garo
to
speak
make sure
to
everyone
make
can
sure
hear
everyone
you,
can hear
Garo.
you, Garo. All right, can you hear me?
All right, guys,
All
give
right,
us a
guys, give
thumbs
us
up
a
if you
thumbs
guys
up
can
if you
hear
guys
both
can
of
hear
us.
both of us.
Okay, there's an
Okay,
echo
there's an
coming
echo
through on
coming
their
through
end
on
too,
their end
Garo.
too, Garo. Oh, there is? I don't know what to do.
So you'll
I don't
have
know
to
what. So
mute
you'll have to mute
when I'm not
when I'm not
talking. You'll
talking.
have to
You'll
mute,
have to mute,
or when I'm
or when
talking, you'll
I'm
have to
talking, you'll
mute.
have to. Okay, so we're both going to be muting each other. You mean?
Well, no,
Well, no,
I don't
yeah,
know
I
why
don't
there's
know
an
why there's
echo.
an echo.
I cannot
Because
figure that
cannot
out.
figure that out. I don't have any windows open.
Huh.
Huh.
Hold on, let me
Hold on,
check
let me check
something.
something.
Give us just
Give
one
us just
second,
one
guys. We're
second,
gonna
guys.
we're gonna check
We're gonna
this
check
out.
this out.
What is
What
that?
is that?
That is the
That is the
strangest thing. I've never
strangest thing.
had
I've
that
never had
happen
that
on here.
happen on. Yeah, leave it to YouTube to do it to me now. Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Everyone thinks it's
Everyone
coming
thinks it's
through on
coming
my
through
end,
on
but
my
I don't
end, but
see
I don't
anything
see anything
open.
open.
There is nothing
There's nothing
open.
open. Well, Cody, why are you trying to sabotage me, dude?
Trust me, I'm
Trust
not.
me, I'm not.
I'm super
I'm super
excited for this.
excited for
So,
this. So,
uh,
uh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, it's not coming
It's not
through
coming
on
through
mine.
on mine.
So
So
I bet.
I bet.
Well, we got
We got
98 in here
98
already.
in here
So
already. So
thanks to everyone
thanks to
who's
everyone who's
joined in.
joined in.
We're just trying to
We're
get
just
this
trying to
echo
get this
figured
echo
out.
figured out.
All right.
All right.
Man.
So they only hear the echo when you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't have
I don't have
anything
anything
open
open.
on
What about that
mine.
video? Maybe that video with the 611. Maybe that's what's causing it.
Yeah, I closed that video.
Oh, okay.
So I thought maybe that was causing it. Yeah, everyone in the chat thinks it's, but I think what we're hearing is something is coming. You're hearing me speak on my end and on Garo's end. Gar, can you try muting your mic to see if?
All right, yeah, I'll mute mine, and then you tell me if you have any problem. Okay, I'm muting it now.
All right, can you guys hear the echo now? Garo's mic's muted, so can you hear the echo now? Okay, they're saying no. They cannot hear the echo when you're, so it's coming through your end.
Okay, but now mute your mic and let me talk, and let's see if it does it. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? Mute your mic. Ask the people if it's doing it.
Yeah, I was just muted.
Yeah, so ask them. Did it echo when I was talking and you were muted?
No, there's no echo when you're talking either, Garo.
Yeah, see? Then don't tell me it's on my end, dude.
Well, no,
Anyway.
it's not on your end necessarily. There's something that's, I don't know what it is.
I'm just messing around. Anyway, let's just, go ahead. We'll just unmute each other every time we want to say something.
Yeah, well, again, so just to get, so Garo, you'll have to mute when I'm talking, and then I'll just mute when you're talking.
Okay, I'm muting. So let me know when you want me to talk.
Okay. All right. So people in the chat are saying he's using two devices, but he's using two devices, but he's not listening to the stream on two devices. So it doesn't make sense why he would be echoing. Anyways, we got 115 of you. So thank you guys for joining in. And again, I'm very excited for this. This is a long time coming with me and Garo. And again, I've been watching Garo since before I even was on YouTube. And I was watching him before I got on YouTube, and some of his connections really got me more into this. It definitely got me more into this. And well, actually, I think I was watching it when I had like 100 subs or something. That's when I started watching Garo. And then my channel grew and Garo's has also grown, but let's get him some more subs. And I'm going to send everyone over to his channel. But Garo, he's going to talk about two dates that he's been talking about for years that are now manifesting in the year 2025, and what Trump did last year in Butler. Also, we're going to play a video for you guys, or Garo is, where these two dates have manifested. So Garo, if you want to go and play this, introduce the dates that your predictions, and then play that video for them.
All right, I'm going to start talking now. So if you want to mute the mic. So my two predictions, which, like I said, if you want to hear my testimony, you'd have to go to my channel or go to the YouTube search bar and type in Jurassic Testimony, and you'll see a video that's 2 hours, 8 minutes long. If you want to hear the testimony of how I came to the knowledge of this, but the two predictions that I do believe are from the Holy Spirit, that it was revealed to me, was the June 11th and August 4th events. Okay, what is the June 11th event? It is the Washington State event, which is the biblical beast out of the sea event. June 11th is the biblical beast out of the sea event, and it connects to Elvis. Okay, and I know people are like, you're insane. What's Elvis have to do with it? Because Elvis is the Antichrist. Okay, and the other prediction is that on August 4th, Trump gets his head wound in Ohio, which is also connected to the beast, the biblical beast event. I mean, beast out of the sea event, because when the beast rises, one of its heads seems to have been wounded to death, but the deadly wound was healed. And that is the August 4th Trump head wound, because Trump is the image of Elvis. Because what they're doing is they're mocking God, because when Jesus, who is God in the flesh, was walking the earth, God was still in heaven, because Jesus is the image of God, because God manifested as three, as the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So Jesus is God in the flesh, and God is still in heaven, right? And that is why Trump is playing the part of God in the flesh. And that's why he's the one who's going to get the head wound on August 4th, just like Jesus was crucified and he rose from the dead. That's what's going to happen with Trump. He's going to get a deadly wound, and he's going to somehow heal from his deadly wound. Okay. And, you got to watch my videos for more of that. But sorry about that. Cody, do you want me to play the video now?
Okay, so I'm back. So yeah, you can play the video. So guys, the video he's going to play is from Butler, and Trump is going to mention. I'll just let you play it, Gar. Just go ahead and play the video. I'll mute.
Okay, I'm not going to show the video because I'm not sure you can see it, but I mean, I could put it up like that. Maybe you might be able to see it. But what you're about to hear is Trump going back to Butler, Pennsylvania, after he got his ear clipped, his supposed ear clipped. And so he goes back there. He's going to say how 12 weeks. Okay. Now watch what he says when he's back there in Butler to the place where he got his ear clipped. Listen.
and his guts, and he wanted to protect his family, and he did protect his family. At this time, it is 6:11, 12 weeks to the minute that the shooting began. I would like to ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence.
So what really happened there, what happened there real quick, it got cut off. It was 4 bells that rang 4 times. Okay. But that's, that has significance, I'm sure, but forget about that. Let's hear him say this one more time. Okay. Just give me a second. This stupid commercial here. Hold on. Give me a second. Go back. Let me play it one more time. Okay. It's important that you hear what's important about that.
He did protect his family.
Give me a second.
Guts, and he wanted to protect his family, and he did protect his family. At this time, it is 6:11, 12 weeks to the minute that the...
So 6:11, he says, which is my prediction for June 11th. Then he says 12 weeks. 12 weeks is 84 days. So both predictions right there with a moment of silence. Okay, they're telling you, because the bells are like sounding of an alarm or having to do with death. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I'm going to mute my mic if you want to say something.
All right, so yeah, what Garo said there. Let me just show you guys what he just said about the 6:11 and the 12 weeks. And what's interesting about the 12 is the event on 6:11 might carry over to the 12th, June 12th, right? So you not only have the June 12th connection the next day after June 11th, but I believe you also have the 8/4, right? Because August, again, 8/4 is the other head wound date for Trump. So 12 weeks, let me just show you, 12 weeks is 84 days, okay? So not only do you have Trump talking about the date June 11th, you have him basically referencing the next day, or June 12th, and then you have the 84, which is the August 4th. And Garo talked briefly about that. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the Trump 8/4 thing, or you want to just go to the 6/11 right now?
Well, you know what, man? I don't even know where to begin with that because there's too many connections. But, basically the JFK head wound is all connected to Trump. Obviously, we all know that. But the one thing you got to know is that's why Obama was the president before Trump, because Obama's born on August 4th. And Trump, he's born on 6/14. 6 times 14 equals 84. But there's so much, connections with that. I don't even know where to start with that because my focus was more on June 11th. So
yeah,
why don't you?
We're gonna keep that focus more on June 11th. But yeah, if you want to mute for right now real fast, and then I'll get into my first slide, and then I'll let you get into it. So here we go, guys. So based off of what Garo's been showing for years now, and I've been watching him for years, and also been looking into his stuff and trying to find things to add to it. This year, it's a very special day for June 11th, as Garo's already showed on his channel. So again, make sure you guys go over to his channel, check out his videos. But this year is June 11th. It's coming up less than a month. And I'm going to show you some things that already, again, go over to Garo's channel. He's already showed lots of info on why this year is a very important year for this June 11th. And I'm going to show a few extra things. But before we do that, we're going to cover the kind of a bit of the basics first. And Garo's going to chime in here and there. So the first thing and the first number I wanted to talk about really connects back to the 6 and the 11, or the 66 and the 11, because 6 times 11 is 66. And the 66th book of the Bible, as Garo said, this is all about Revelation. The 66th book of the Bible is Revelation. Now, considering that Elvis is the Antichrist, part of this, right? Part of this riddle. And Elvis has a huge connection to not only Seattle and the date June 11th, but also to a horse which won the Triple Crown in 1977, the year that Elvis died. And Gar showed all this already, but we're going to just dive into the number 66 real fast. Now, and then I'm going to let Gar talk about the twin thing in just a second, because there's a twin connection here. But just to start off, why are we connecting Seattle and Elvis? Well, first of all, one of the most easy ways to show it is that Elvis was in a movie called What Happened at the World's Fair, where Elvis's name is knocking over the Seattle Space Needle. Okay, so you have this clear symbolism of Elvis's name knocking over the structure in Seattle. Now, not only that, Elvis is known as the King, and as Gar has mentioned many times, Seattle is located in King County. Okay, so you have two clear connections there. It's in King County, like Elvis was the king. He has a movie with his name knocking over the Space Needle, right? And then this connection, right? In 1977, 66 days before Elvis died, the horse called Seattle Slew, and what does the word slew mean? As Gar has said many times also, slew means to kill or violently kill. Now, Seattle Slew in gematria equals 66. 66 days after Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown, like Elvis is the king and has a crown, 66 days later, Elvis died. On the throne, by the way, the toilet, right? And then the first case of corona, which means crown, was in King County. And don't forget that his name was knocking over the needle, which connects back to the corona, you know what, right? And just another thing, in gematria, number of the beast does equal 66. And we know that the number of the beast in the Bible is 666. And again, as Garo has showed many times on his channel, the name Elvis is literally an ode to the sixes. And I just typed it out here so people could easily understand it. So El means God in Hebrew. That's the first part of Elvis's name. The next part of Elvis's name is the VI, and VI in Roman numerals is 6. And the S at the end of Elvis represents a plural or a multiple. So essentially you have God, EL, 6, and S as in plural. Hopefully I put that in a way that you guys can easily understand that Elvis's name can literally translate to God sixes, okay? God of sixes. So it's not a coincidence that Seattle Slew, again, sixes is multiple sixes. So it could be 2 6s, it could be 3 6s, 4 6s. But Seattle Slew, the horse, wins 66 days before Elvis died on 6/11, which is 6 times 11 equals 66. Now, Garo, you can add in why Elvis is connected to 9/11 and the twins and how he's connected to the Twin Towers and the next 9/11 on 6/11. You're not unmuted. You're still muted.
Okay, I found it. I lost the mute button. All right,
okay.
Listen. So everybody, was trying to figure out what the next 9/11 was, right? So, and how I got to Seattle was the fact that Manhattan had the TT in it, okay? Because it has the double cross. Seattle has the double cross, right? But I'll get to that in a moment. Let's keep going with the 66, okay, with why the Twin Towers is connected to Elvis. From Elvis's birthday, the exact day he's born, January 8th, 1935, if you went forward to 9/11, 2001, it's exactly 66 years, 8 months, 4 days, okay? And why is this important? Because Elvis had an identical twin that died at birth, okay? And the word twin equals 66, okay? So his identical twin dies at birth, and then 66 years later, the Twin Towers falls. And Trump is the replacement twin for the identical that was sacrificed, okay? Or whatever happened to the identical twin. Trump is the replacement twin. And that's why you see the word twin being 66. It was 66 years from his birth date to the Twin Towers falling. Then you have the 8-4, which is the day Trump gets his head wound. And what does Trump's birthday? 6 times 14 equals 84. So it's right there in the numbers. 66 years, 8 months, 4 days, right there, you know. And like I said, it's all about the Twin Towers falling. Let me show you real quick. You know what, man? It's hard for me to, because I have so many, you know, you're going to have to talk about the Pearl Harbor stuff and how it connects. But just real quick, let me tell them the Atta stuff, you know, how I got to Seattle, but the coincidences with the supposed first pilot who struck the towers. His name was Atta. And when I first saw that name, I was like, wow, this is I've never seen a name like this, you know, where the first 2 letters are like the last 2 letters, right? And then when I looked at Manhattan, because that's where it happened, it said Atta in Manhattan. Manhattan has the ATTA in it also. Then I look and they keep calling it 9/11 attacks. Attacks has the ATTA in it, right? And then later on, when I figured out that the next 9/11 was going to be where I was trying to figure it out, I realized it's Seattle, and Seattle has the ATT, but it doesn't have the A. So it's missing the 1A. It has ATT, but where's the A? It's the Space Needle itself. The Seattle Space Needle is the big A. Okay. And why is the Space Needle so important? Because the word Space Needle equals fallen angel, because Elvis is the fallen angel. Okay. Space Needle equals exactly the word fallen angel. And that's why Seattle is the next target, which just happens to be the upside down 9/11, 6/11. And that's not even why I picked 6/11. It had nothing to do with that. You'd have to hear my testimony to understand how I came up with 6/11. Okay. And once you see how all the connections perfectly connect to Satan and to 666 with this 6/11 and 8/4, you'll understand where I'm going with this. But let's go back to the topic of, if you want to go back to your 66 connection, Cody.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, the 66, and Ngaro did a great job at explaining the rest of that with the twin. And don't forget, you know, just on the gematria side of that, just real fast, somebody in the chat said they didn't even know Elvis had a twin. Well, Elvis's twin was Jesse, right? And notice that Jesse does have a match with Elvis, 67 and 20 in the base 2 ciphers, 67-22. That was his original twin that died at birth. Now, as Jurassic said, Trump, and that's why I had pulled up these images, and I believe this is the image that Garo actually made. And Trump has been compared to Elvis, and also Trump inducted Elvis into some sort of Hall of Fame. I can't remember what that was. What was it he inducted him into, Garo?
The Presidential Medal of Freedom Award Trump gave him.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's all kinds of connections with Elvis as he's shown many times, and Trump. But that's just to show people in the chat that said they didn't even know Elvis had a twin. So we're getting some new people in here who didn't know that. So, again, with the 66s, and it makes perfect sense because Elvis's name can literally be translated to God of the Sixes, right? I mean, how much more obvious does it need to be? And considering that Elvis is a big part of Sin City, right? What's the main character when you go to Sin City? It's Las Vegas. It's Elvis. Elvis marries you in Sin City. I mean, what's the chances of that? And me and Gar kind of set this up before the stream, but he's shown this also with different photos. But I set this up before the stream to show how Elvis's head looks a lot, I mean, almost identical to the shape of the peninsula of Washington. And you can see the little hair thing up here. And also, it even has a little space for the mouth. And don't forget, Seattle is in King County. Is there anything you want to add there, Gar, with the shape of the head? Or
Well, the only thing I wanted to add is that they were calling it the chop zone during the 19 sickness, and they were calling that area the chop zone. So that's why I'm thinking that they're going to take a bite out of the Apple State, because New York is known as the Big Apple, and that's where at Manhattan the first the first big thing happened, and then Washington is known as the Apple State. So I told you it's biblical. Just like they took a bite out of the fruit, let's just say it's the apple. That's why you have that logo of the bitten apple, and that came out. The bitten apple logo came out the year Elvis died. The bitten apple logo came out the year Elvis died. Okay, in the same year Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown, right? And so that's why it's another biblical connection, because Washington is the Apple State. Okay, and you might want to show them this. What did the white settlers first call New York?
Oh, right. Okay. Hold on.
I mean, what did the first white settlers call Seattle?
So yeah, right here, you guys can read.
Seattle's original name. Sorry, go ahead.
Seattle's original name was New York Alki. I don't know what the Alki is, but
in other places it just says New York, but then they add the other part.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. So yeah, anyway, what he's talking about there is perfectly clear as well. The Apple State and the Big Apple, and then Seattle used to be called New York. So that's super interesting. And with the Apple stuff, like he already said, the bite out of the apple, the chop zone, it all just makes too much sense. And continuing with my slides here. So again, I don't know if you guys can see this well. I mean, hopefully you guys can see the picture here well. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks, considering Elvis has so many connections with this Seattle area, and his head just happens to be in the shape of the peninsula, just like Trump's head is in the shape of the Seattle or the Miami or the Florida peninsula, or like a gun. It looks like a gun. That's sorry. But so here, Gar, I'm just going to go into the main part of my presentation, and then I'll let you chime in after I show this Mars stuff. Because again, if you guys want to know the basic information that Gar shared, you got to go to his channel. We don't have time in this channel on this decode to describe all of it. But what I'm going to do is show you guys what I've found in the recent days that really points to this June 11th being very connected to Trump, Mars, which is the god of war. The reason that Mars is so important is the god of war, right? War against the flesh, war against, world war, all kinds of war narratives going on. And Mars is super important because Mars is the planet or connected to the god of war. And so the first slide I have to show here is, so Garo has talked about Bruno Mars a bit before, but there is a singer named Bruno Mars. And it isn't a coincidence in my mind that they gave this guy the name Mars, because there's something here with Elvis and Mars. And you can see that this is little Bruno Mars as an Elvis impersonator as a kid. Look, the youngest king, Bruno Mars, early days as Elvis. Now, in the Roman mythology, Mars is the son of Rome, essentially. So that's why I think they also call him the little king. But it all connects to Mars, the red planet, the red horse. There's so much stuff. But what you guys got to know with Mars and Earth is when Mars and Earth make a dance in the sky, so we know that on Earth it takes 365 days to make a year. On Mars, it takes 687 days on Earth to make one Mars year. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the next couple slides is show you guys how Mars connects to Seattle and Elvis. Okay, not just with Bruno Mars, but so what I found interesting, and again, this cipher is not so relevant, but it is interesting. Again, some of these ciphers I know Gar doesn't like. I also don't always like to use them, but it is interesting that Mars equals 48 in the old Francis Bacon cipher. But that doesn't even matter. The 48 Mars thing is not important. What matters is that Elvis was founded, or not Elvis, but Seattle was founded on the 48th day of the year. Okay. And that was November 13th, 1851. And we know that in the Mars movies, they've shown these Mars aliens, looking like, and Elvis has lots of connections to aliens too. I guess we can get into that as well. But again, the 48th day of the year, Seattle founded is, I'm going to expand on that now. So look at this. The company Mars was founded near Seattle, Washington in 1911. Okay, so here you have your 9/11 code. And look at the date, June 23rd. That's actually one day before June 24th, which is the Julian conversion of 6/11. Now look at the gematria of the company that was founded in Seattle, near Seattle, and look at the gematria of Elvis's full name. Okay, this is a 3 out of 4 cipher match, folks. Mars Incorporated equals Elvis Aaron Presley. So we have Bruno Mars impersonating Elvis, and then we have the Seattle company essentially being founded called Mars, which equals his name in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. So that right there is interesting. And the reason, again, Mars is important is because we're going to start talking about horses here for a minute. But before I get to the horse racing.
Can you stop for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you going to keep going more on the 48? Because I have something to add to the 48.
Yeah, go, add to the 48 for sure.
Well, look who won the 48th Super Bowl.
Was it Seattle? Let me just pull that up. Hold on. Are you muted again, Gar?
Yeah, I muted myself. Yeah, it's Seattle.
Let me just show that to people here. 48th Super Bowl. It was Seattle. Wow. I didn't even think about that. Crazy. And they demolished.
And it's been 48 years. And it's been 48 years since Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown. It's going to be 48 on June 11th.
Right. That's what I was going to get to. Yeah. So let me continue because I'm going to talk about the 48s and continue with that, but that's a great addition for sure. So again, Seattle founded on the 48 days left in the year. Mars could equal 48 in the old Francis Bacon, the old English cipher, right? But that's not as important. You don't even need that gematria right there. You just need the 48 Seattle founding, right? And then you have the Mars company literally equaling Elvis, okay? And it even has the 8/1, right? And the 8/1 could be Elvis's birthday. He's born on January 8th, which in most countries is written 8/1. And 9 times 9 is 81. So you get the 2 8/1 connections here. You have the 99s. 9 times 9 is 81. And then you have the 81. Both of those could represent Elvis's birthday. So Garo has also talked a lot about horse racing. In fact, he has a big history with horse racing. Well, there is a Mars company who, and the reason this is so important, and this blew my mind. This is one of the most mind-blowing parts of this decode. I didn't even know this. Horse racing is called Mars. It's presented by Mars Equestrian. Okay. Now, why is it presented by Mars Equestrian? Well, because the festival Equiria, or however you say that. Literally, let me just read this. Equiria were ancient Roman festivals held in honor of Mars, the Roman god of war. The term comes from equus, horse, and to run. So literally horse racing. The rituals that were performed in these rituals was horse racing, friends. And this is all about god Mars, okay? And the horse racing we're going to get into, why is this connected to horses? Well, because this connects back to Mars, right? Which is Elvis. So this is where we're going to get into the Mars years. I told you guys that you can measure in Mars years, right? And you're going to see how this is relevant as we go through. Again, 1 year on Mars is 687 Earth days. So every 687 days is one Mars year. That's as simple as it is. So how many Mars years is it between the founding of Seattle and the birth of the horse Seattle Slew? Well, I'll bet you that you cannot find many connections like this where the birth of Seattle and the birth of the horse is exactly a Martian year. It's a birthday of the Mars, okay? So basically, there was 65 Mars years between the founding of Seattle and the birth of Seattle Slew. The reason that's super important is because once you complete 65 years, you're starting your 66th Martian year. So that means, essentially, Seattle Slew was born on the first day of the 66th Martian year after Seattle was founded. Now that is improbable. You got to remember, it takes 687 days for a Mars year. So this does not come around very often. And this lands on the perfect one too, because this connects us back to the 66. Okay. So I will bet you guys cannot find many Martian year connections. It's very hard to find a connection like this where exactly the Martian years it lands, right? And I already showed you that Seattle has the Mars company. The horse racing has the Mars connection. Now the Mars year from Seattle to the horse, improbable, okay? Now look at this. I told you that the 48 is the days left in the year that Seattle was founded. Well, what date did Seattle Slew win the Triple Crown in 1977, the year Elvis died, 66 days before Elvis died? June 11th, 1977. Look how many years it will be this June 11th from the win of Seattle Slew. Exactly 48 years. Now, again, what are the odds of that? We just made the connection between Seattle and the 48. Who won the 48th Super Bowl, as Garo pointed out? Seattle did. Okay. 48 years after Seattle Slew is this year. Okay. Now, this is where I'm going to bring in this, then I'll let Garo maybe add some things. I'm sure he's got something to say. But going right back to the 48s, 48 years from Seattle Slew to this June 11th, there is one very prominent person in this world that was born on Elvis's birthday that could start a war or could do something that would connect to Mars. Remember, Mars, the god of war. There is a guy who on this earth is very prone to starting wars, or they would tell us that he is, at least. His name is Kim Jong-un. And he just happens to equal 48 in one of the less relevant ciphers, but it is interesting. He equals 48. And how many years? Okay, first of all, they give Kim Jong-un 3 birthdays. And I think they do this for a reason because they give him 3 different years. But you can read right here. It says North Korea says he was born in 82. South Korea says he was born in 83. And the United States says he was born in 84. So 3 different countries say he's born in a different year. But they all know he's born on the same day as Elvis. Okay? But look at this. If you go with the middle year, so like the midpoint, which I think is important, the middle year that they give is 48 years between Elvis and Kim Jong-un, just like the 48 years from Seattle Slew to this June 11th. Okay. Now, is there anything you want to add right now, Gar? Or you want me to keep going with this?
No, keep going. I might interject when you talk about the father, his dad, I mean.
Okay. So Kim Jong-un, not only does he equal 48, like the years between him and Elvis's birth, he also, if there's one person on this world that might start a world war or something, it could be this guy, because look at his gematria. I mean, you're talking about a 3 out of 4 cipher match to world war. And Not only that, so this is where we're going to start talking a bit about this year, Garo, because this year we had a very important event on April 19th and April 20th in WWE, where there was the June 11th date posted right in front of our faces. Okay. But before I get to that, look how old Elvis was in Martian years on the date April 20th this year. Again, I showed you how perfect the Martian years landed from Seattle's founding to the horse Seattle Slew, right? Look how old Elvis was this year on 4/20, Hitler's birthday. He was exactly 48 Martian years. This year, Garo, he was exactly 48 Martian years. On that date, the day that Cody Rhodes, the June 11th guy, lost his title to John Cena, the perfect day. And look how old Kim Jong-un was that day, the same day Elvis turned 48. Again, they were born 48 years apart. Kim Jong-un was 42 years, like Washington is the 42nd state, and 102 days. Well, look at the gematria of World War, 42 and 102. And that's on 4/20, like 4/2, right? So this is crazy. I mean, this is on Hitler's birthday, the guy who was essentially responsible for World War II. And then you have Kim Jong-un, who lines up with Elvis, and they both line up with Hitler's birthday this year. And
real quick, the 4/20, that's the first day that Elvis worked at Crown Electric.
Right. Okay. Right. I forgot that. Yeah, exactly. So that him working at Crown. Okay. So just to restate, Garo said that the first ever year that Elvis has listed as working at the Crown Electric Company, like Crown, like King, was on April 20th. So how perfect. And where did Elvis go during his military stuff? Garo's mentioned this many times. Germany, right? That's where I'm at. But yeah, it all connects back to Germany.
You make sure you tell them what Germany equals.
Germany.
Memphis.
Oh yeah, Germany equals Memphis. Yeah, that's right. So where did Elvis die at, guys? Germany. He went to Germany. He died in Memphis. And you'll notice it's a 4 out of 4 cipher match, Memphis and Germany. So, wow. Yeah. Let's see. And then, all right. So again, we made these connections now with Kim Jong-un. Him and Elvis are born the same day. The Seattle Slew, 48 years this year. Elvis just turned 48 Martian years on Hitler's birthday. But now this is where it gets crazy. So now we're going to start measuring from Kim Jong-un taking office to June 11th this year. First of all, he took office on April 11th, so we have another 11th of the month. But look at this. From the very day that he took office to the very day of June 11th is another perfect Martian year. Again, it takes so much to land on a perfect Martian year. But not only is it a perfect Martian year, guys, it's exactly 7 Martian years. That means that if you measure it in weeks, from the day he took office to June 11th this year, it's 687 weeks. Why is that important? Because a Martian year is 687 days. So this is pointing us to Mars twice. It's pointing us to the 687, which is the Mars, how many days are in a Mars year. And it's landing on exactly 7 Mars years from him taking office. Okay. Now, if that wasn't enough, guess how old Trump turns on the same day, folks. Well, first, before we get to that, guess how many years exactly it will be after Trump and Kim Jong-un met on June 12th, 2018. If you add the day, it's exactly 7 years. Remember, I just showed you it's exactly 7 Martian years from him taking office and exactly 7 Earth years from him and Trump meeting. On the same date, essentially, it's June 12th. It's just one day after June 11th. On top of that, now look at how old Trump is going to be on June 11th. This is crazy. 42 Martian years exactly, Garo. 42 Martian years exactly. Like, that's improbable because Kim Jong-un is also landing on a Martian year.
Yeah, that's incredible. The 42 years exactly. Wow.
Like, this is an important day for Trump because this is his 42nd Martian birthday.
Don't forget to add that Elvis died at the age of 42 and Washington's the 42nd state.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah. I forgot to put that here, but Washington is the 42nd state. Elvis died at 42. Kim Jong-un equals 42, like World War. Remember, the word war also equals 42. Mars is the god of war. Trump will turn exactly 42 Martian years old on that day. Now, what is Trump doing right now in the Middle East? He's going around preaching peace. Go watch what he talked about today with the guy from Qatar. They're all talking about peace. Now, my girlfriend has read a prophecy book where the guy talks about as soon as everyone starts screaming peace, that's when the next world war will come. So I'm like thinking, wow, is June 11th really going to be the start of that this year? Some tribulation, horrible, who knows exactly how it's going to play out. But Trump turning 42 Martian years on June 11th is a scary thing because that's the number of war. And don't forget, the beast reigns for 42 months in the Bible. So, and what's the chances that Kim Jong-un lands on his Martian birthday since he took office? Okay. Now, here's just an extra. We're going to go back to the sixes. Elvis means God of sixes, right? Now, look at this. From the Seattle Incorporated as a town. Now, we're going to measure in Mercury years. Now, Mercury year is just 88 days each, right? This is the only Mercury connection I'm going to make, but I thought it was interesting. If you measure from Seattle's founding to the June 11th this year, it's exactly a Mercury year too. Not just a Mars year, but also a Mercury year. It's 666 Mercury years exactly since Seattle was incorporated, right? And don't forget, the company Mars Incorporated is near Seattle, right? And Seattle Slew won the horse race 66 days before Elvis died, right? God of sixes. And now the Mercury years from Seattle's Incorporated is perfectly on June 11th. And so Seattle Slew, right here, it says June 11th, 1977, Seattle Slew wins 9 in a row to win the Triple Crown. And look at this. Seattle Slew equals June 11th, 141. Of course he won it on June 11th. He was trained by a guy named Billy Turner, who just happens to equal 141 in the reverse. And considering we're talking about World War III also equals 141 in the same cipher. Let me bring that up real fast. So Seattle Slew, World War III, June 11th, all equal 141 in just the same cipher. So that's interesting. But so also Billy Turner, again, he was the one who was riding Seattle Slew. He died in Florida. We know Trump is based out of Florida. And what's the chance of that? But look at this. When Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown, and the Satanic Cipher, you can say it's relevant or not. I mean, it's just interesting. But we know the Ordinal Cipher is very relevant. In the Ordinal Cipher, when Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown, it was at the Belmont Stakes. Well, what's the chances that equals 156 when 9/11 is the 156 prime number and Seattle Slew in reverse equals 156 like Belmont Stakes? But notice that Belmont Stakes also equals 6/11, and that's when in Satanic, and that's when he won the Belmont Stakes on 6/11. So now we're going to get back to what we started the video talking about. Why does Trump bring up the 6/11 about an assassination when he literally says it right in our faces? He says the time is 6/11. I don't know if you always want to play that video again, Gar, so people can be reminded. It's up to you if you want to play it again, but.
And I would like to. It is 6.
Here it goes.
Tremendous courage, tremendous guts, and he wanted to protect his family, and he did protect his family. At this time, it is 6/11, 12 weeks to the minute that the shooting began. I would like to ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence.
So real quick, let me just tell everyone. So after he got his ear clipped in Butler, Pennsylvania, the time on the clock was 6:11. That's why they had a moment of silence when he went back to Butler, Pennsylvania he went back to Butler, Pennsylvania 84 days after he got his ear clipped. And I'm telling you, he's going to get his real, thing on August 4th. You know what I mean? The real thing on August 4th. And so he went back there 84 days later to Butler, Pennsylvania, after he got his ear clipped, and he said 6:11 moment of silence. And then they played 4 bells ringing for the moment of silence. They rang the bell 4 times. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and again, if there's one large cipher that I found is relevant, it's the Jewish Latin cipher. It's the one that Derek has preached about. But it is interesting that assassination equals 6:11. He's mentioning his assassination at 6:11, which happened on 6:11. And as Garo said, 6:11 is the Seattle, and the assassination is connected to that on August 4th. So, I mean, all the 6:11 connections. 9/11 is the upside down 6:11. Seattle Slew has the 6:11 connection. Now Trump is literally putting it in our faces and ringing a bell and having a moment of silence at 6:11. And notice that when he does this, he starts this moment of silence at 6:11, but it goes over to 6:12 on the time. If you notice that, it goes from 6:11 to 6:12 just as they're doing this. So that, I think, again, tells us something about the 6:12, because remember, Kim Jong-un and Trump met on 6/12 exactly 7 years before this year. So I think that's telling us something. So now this is where, what else did they give us? So not only did Trump tell us about the 6:11 to our faces, the WWE, which I talk about on my channel, gave us so clear this date that you cannot even, how can anyone deny this? Earlier this year, I'm not going to go into all the backstory, but earlier this year on it was in March or February, I forget when it was, but The Rock, right? Who also has a huge thing for Elvis. So let me just show you that before I even get to that. So Elvis, The Rock. So again, Elvis, look at The Rock. I mean, you guys can't say he's not connected to Elvis. I mean, he's just like Bruno Mars. He's dressing up as Elvis. He loves Memphis. I've seen The Rock even go to Memphis in WWE and say he loves that city. It's his home city. The Rock says that on live TV all the time. Elvis died in Memphis, dressing up like Elvis, singing like Elvis. When he does his performances in WWE, he sings. He tries to sing like Elvis. So, yeah, I mean, so much Elvis and The Rock stuff. So what is the chances that it's The Rock who's holding the belt? Who's holding the belt that says Cody Soul? And that's just interesting how it connects to me organically. I mean, this is my name. I'm super connected to this as well. But Cody Soul, June 11th, 2015. Now, why does it say that? I have never seen WWE put a date like this on anything. I cannot remember one time. I've watched WWE almost all my life. I have never seen them write a date for us to see, like literally showing us a date. And why are they showing us this date? Well, not only because of what Garo and I are talking about, but the person he was showing this belt to was Cody Rhodes. Now, Cody Rhodes' father is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And when did the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, die? He died on June 11th. And again, this cipher is not so relevant, but the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, does equal 1776. That is interesting because we're talking about America, which was founded in 1776. And his whole thing is connected to America. But that's not important, so important. What is important is that when Dusty Rhodes died on June 11, 2015, look who made a post about it. Fox 13 Seattle made a post about the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. I mean, I don't know why, because it's not really, I mean, I don't know if every news station in the United States did this, but I doubt that every news station in the entire United States covered this story. It's not like Dusty Rhodes was a huge star. I mean, he was just a WWE star, but he wasn't like the hugest star. But Seattle did cover this story on June 11, 2015. And look at what Fox 13 Seattle equals in Gematria. It literally equals Seattle Slew, which is interesting. And again, when did Seattle Slew win the Triple Crown? June 11th, the same day that they posted this, right? And how many years was it from the day that Seattle Slew won the Triple Crown to the day that this happened? It was exactly 38 years. And anyone who knows gematria knows that the basic, simplest cipher of gematria, the word death equals 38. And this is the death date of Dusty Rhodes. And don't forget, slew means to kill or to put someone to death. So from the Seattle death or slew to the death of Dusty Rhodes, the American dream, 38 years. Death 38. Now look at this. The horse that got second place to Seattle Slew was Run Dusty Run. And what is the real name of Dusty Rhodes? Runnels. Come on now. No one can say that this is a coincidence. This is the horse that got second to Seattle Slew is Run Dusty Run, and the real name of Dusty Rhodes is Runnels? What? I mean, that's a mic drop moment right there. Like, what? Come on. What is the chance of that? This is on the same day, exactly 38 years apart. Like, what are we seeing here? Like,
actually, that's the only information I didn't know is the Run Dusty Run thing. Yeah, that's crazy. And of course, all your Mars and Mercury stuff. But yeah, I didn't know that about the Run Dusty Run connection. That's a good
one. Perfect. I mean, his name is Runnels, man. Like, it's like, I'm so like, I found this just a few hours ago. I didn't find this like last week when I was putting this stream together. I just found this today. But again, this solidifies the connection between Dusty Rhodes and the horse Seattle Slew. And not only that, look at this. When he was, it was 38 years and 0 days from Seattle Slew to Dusty Rhodes event, right? Look how old Dusty Rhodes was on the day Seattle Slew won. The exact same numbers, 380. This is Dusty Rhodes was born October 11, 1945 during World War II or after World War II. 380 months exactly after his birth was the win of Seattle Slew. And then exactly 38 years and 0 days later, he died. You guys see how perfect that is? Like, this is the exact same numbers, 380, 380, okay? And again, that's the death number. That's the slew. Like, that's why they said slew.
And he was 69, which is the crown, which is the circle.
Yeah, and the Pope that just got elected is 69. So I think that's another clue. Another interesting thing with Dusty Rhodes, on the day that, on the June 11th this year, he will be right on the verge of turning exactly 291. So he'll be right on like a perfect day. Look at this. Well, yeah, if it's one more day in the future, he would be exactly 29100 days old. So he would land on like a perfect number, 291. I don't know what the 291 might mean, but there's something there with the 291. Okay. So he's almost on his like 291 day birthday if he was still alive.
Well, the 1011 is a big deal. The date. That's 10 hours 11 months. Yeah, 10 hours 11 minutes is 611 minutes. 10 hours 11 minutes. Right.
Yeah, that's something I didn't even think about. So yeah, I mean, how perfect is that? And so Elvis, so let's make the connection with Elvis and Dusty Rhodes. Like, from the birth of Elvis to the birth of Dusty Rhodes, exactly 116, like June 11th, backwards, 33. And who was the guy who flew into the tower on 9/11? He was 33 years old. Seattle Slew equals 33. We know how big the 33 code is. We all know that. But look at this. It's got the 33 and the 116 in there. But look at this number, guys. Not only is it the June 11th and the 33 in the date between the two, it breaks down to the 1399 prime, which breaks down to the 222 prime, which is George Washington's birthday. And again, in the very relevant cipher, I tell you, there's not a coincidence. You look in the database and see how many things equal 1399 in Jewish. Not many. There's only like 20 things that equal 1399 in Jewish, and one of them is George Washington. And it just so happens that Elvis and the American Dream are born exactly 1399 prime days apart, which breaks down to the 222 prime, which is the birthday of George Washington, 222. On top of that, the horse that just won the race this year, let me bring him up real fast, if I can find it. I don't know. Okay, right here. The horse that won the race this year, guys, was Sovereignty. And when is his birthday? 222. And what was he an ancestor of? Seattle Slew. So they've even given us a connection just a week and a half ago. This happened. The Kentucky Derby. A guy, the horse that descended from Seattle Slew, who has the birthday of 222, George Washington's birthday. And now you have also this connection between Elvis and Dusty Rhodes, which breaks down to the 222.
I want to talk about that real quick. That slide you have up right now, the 11633.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about 9/11 that year, and the 33-year-old Atta, who slammed into the tower, the first pilot. That year, first of all, that's the exact moment Trump got his ear clipped. It was 6:11:33 seconds. 6 hours. Really? I mean, 6:11 and the 33 seconds. That's what Wikipedia has. Anyway,
really?
And yeah, and that year 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened. Guess who was executed on 6/11 that year in 2001?
What's his name?
Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was 33 years old. 6/11:33 again. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the same year 9/11 happened.
Wow. Hold on, I'm trying to find that just so people can see. Look at this. It's right here, man. Trump started speaking at 6:11:33. Crooks fired shots into the rally. Wow. So there's your 6:11:33, and not so different than the days between Elvis and Dusty. And don't forget, in the Jewish cipher, 611 is the gematria of assassination. But yeah. All right, so now we're going to move. Garz, is there anything you particularly want to talk about? Because now I'm going to move to current events. We're going to cover events that are connected to 6/11 that have happened just in the last week or last week and a half.
Let's just get the current events out of the way, and then we'll just go freestyle at the end.
Okay. All right, so look at this. So the new Pope, who again I told you is interestingly connected. So big shout out to Dr. Savage, who actually made this connection before I did. But again, in Jewish gematria, the United States equals 744. We get the first United States Pope this year. And so from the founding of the United States to the birth of the new United States Pope is exactly 744 Mercury years. That's interesting because United States equals 744. But what's even more interesting is the new Pope's name is Lion or Leo, right? Which means lion. And look at what lion means in the Strong's Concordance. 744 is the name for lion in Strong's. This is exactly how old the first American Pope is when the United States was founded. Like he literally, the United States turned 744 Mercury years on the day he was born, which is lion. And his name means lion, okay? The reason this is important is because a few days after the Pope was elected, we get this Arabic news. A wrestler, right? We're talking about Dusty Rhodes. A wrestler died on May 11th, right? And what's interesting about that is June 11th is 5 months and 11 days into the year, okay? And on 5/11, just a few days ago, an Arabic wrestler died. This is taking us right back to the 9/11 attacks. And look at how far apart their two deaths were, guys. Dusty Rhodes and this guy who just died a few days ago, 9/11, man. 9 years, 11 months exactly. And remember, Dusty died on the day that's 5 months and 11 days into the year, which is June 11th. And this guy dies on 5/11. And look, not only is it 9 years, 11 months apart between the two deaths, but it's also 119 months exactly. So you got two 9/11 connections. Now, how does this connect with everything that's going on right now? Remember, I told you the Pope was the United States was 744 Mercury years exactly when this new Pope took office. Well, Trump, this is crazy. Look at who Trump's meeting with today. And look at what time the sun will set in Qatar today. And trust me, guys, how many times in the year does the sun set at 6:11? I'll tell you, it's only twice in the year that the sun sets at 6:11. And Trump is meeting with the Qatar guy today when the sun in Doha, Qatar sets at 6:11. Now look at this. Let me go to the sunrise thing. Look at this, folks. Today, May 14th, the birthday of Israel, 77 birthday of Israel. If you go down, let's look at all the days that this sun sets at 6:11. Look at this. May 1st, it sets at 1804. That's not 6:11. May 2nd, 1804. That's not 6:11. 1805. That's not 6:11. Okay, all the way down. What's the first day that the sun sets at 6:11 in Qatar, Doha? Exactly the day that Trump arrives there to meet with this guy, 6:11 or 1811 their time. That is improbable, okay? And we just had the death of this guy who died exactly 9 months, 11 after this guy who died on 6/11. And they're both wrestlers, guys. They're clearly connected. They both were famous wrestlers. And now he's meeting a guy that dresses just like this wrestler. I mean, look, they look even almost alike. Sabu and this leader of Qatar look very similar. And the sun is setting at 6:11 in the northwest. Look at that, Garo. 6:11 heading northwest. What in the world? Where's Seattle, guys? Northwest.
Yeah, that's incredible. And like you said, that Israel's birthday is today, 5/14, and it's 77 years. So that's Seattle Slew's death. I mean, Seattle Slew winning the Triple Crown, 6/11/77.
Yep. And guess how many days today is before August 4th, Garo's Trump date? Garo, you might already know this, but hold on a second. So today is exactly when Trump's meeting with this guy. It's when the sun sets at 6:11 today. It's 9 months and 11 days after the last August 4th. So there's the last August 4th, where, a year before this year's August 4th, it was 9 months and 11 days ago. And look how many days it is before this August 4th. 11 weeks and 6 days, 6/11. And Trump is meeting with this guy when the sun sets at 6:11 in the northwest. I mean, that's as obvious as it can get, guys. I mean, we're talking about Seattle, Washington, Seattle Slew, 6:11. Seattle's in the northwest. 6:11 is the sunset. And again, only 2 days. Let me show you. May 14th, the sun sets at 6:11. The only other day it sets at 6:11 is tomorrow. So there can only be 2 days that Trump could be there, and it would be perfectly this day. So we need to start looking into sunset times because they're obviously using these sunset times. Wow. But yeah, there's actually more, because remember, the Qatar guy is going to give Trump an airplane. And in the United States, the 6:11 is very connected with airplanes and 9/11. Well, look at this. Federal Aviation Administration in the United States is FAA. Well, what's that, guys? 6:11. They're going to gift Trump an airplane. And everyone's like trying to figure out why. Well, it's all connected to the FAA, which equals 6:11. And Trump's there on the day where the sun sets at 6:11. But just to add to the Pope real fast, I'm almost done. So this wrestler that died, this Arabic wrestler, who wasn't really Arabic even, he wasn't even Arabic, but look at this. From the birth of this guy to the birth of the guy that Trump's meeting today is 5653 days. That's the 744th prime. Well, I just told you that the new Pope was born 744 years exactly after the United States was founded, Mercury years. So this is clearly connecting to the Pope just coming and this guy just dying a few days later, and then Trump meets this guy. So that's interesting. And notice the lion thing, okay? The reason the lion is so important here is because in Jerusalem, the Lion's Gate enters the Lion's Gate is the eastern gate, also called Stephen's Gate, which is an entrance to the Muslim quarters. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, look, the Lion's Gate is the Muslim quarter of the old city. So the Lion's Gate connects to the Muslims. And I'll tell, hey, Gar, do you know what Osama means? Does anyone know?
Actually, I don't know what the name means. No.
It means lion. So when Osama clearly connects to a lion, and now we have the new pope, which means lion. And now this Arabic guy dies, which I believe is pointing us to Osama and 9/11, which was Osama was the lion. That's what his name means. And one last connection here. I think I'm almost done. So from, just to add to the Seattle Slew thing, from Seattle Slews winning the Triple Crown on June 11th to the birth of this guy that Trump just met with today, exactly 1089 days. That's the 33rd square. So this guy's born the 33rd square after Seattle Slew won. That's 33 times 33. This guy perfectly born after Seattle Slew. And remember, Seattle Slew equals 33. And the 33 code with Ata and what we've already mentioned. And this one little quick last thing. This is interesting too. If you measure in the moon, if you go from the founding of Seattle, the incorporation date, to the birth of Seattle Slew, it also lands on exactly a moon phase, which is 1393. And that is interesting because I guess I missed the slide, but it's not important. This is not an important slide at all, but it is interesting that this also lands on perfect time. All right, Garo. So I'll let you talk a bit. It's your information mostly. So I know there's stuff you want to talk about and add. So I'll let you have the floor for a bit.
All right. Maybe while I type, if I tell you like a certain date, maybe you can type that in. But let me just talk about this for a moment. So like I said, Elvis is the beast out of the sea. And it just so happens that on January 8th, 2011, there was a quake in Seattle. Okay, and what was this quake called on January 8th, 2011? It was called the Beast Quake. Okay, so January 8th, 2011, there was the Beast Quake, and Elvis is born on January 8th. Okay, and what caused this quake? It was some kind of this guy who was returning either a punt or a kick, I can't remember, but he ran it for 67 yards. Elvis equals 67, and if you wrote out the word 67, would be the first number that equals 162. June 11th is the 162nd day of the year. Okay, but what's important is his name was Lynch. Okay, the guy who ran it. So you had the Beast Quake happen on Elvis's birthday. The guy's name is Lynch, and Lynch is somewhere in here, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, around the head area. Okay, because we're talking about head wounds. And guess who got a head wound on January 8th, 2011? The same day the Beast Quake. Who got the head wound? Look up Gabby Giffords, January 8th, 2011. All right. So this person, Gabby Giffords, a congresswoman who got a head wound on the same day that the Beast Quake happened. Because I told you that Elvis's head is Washington State, and has Elvis's head is part of Washington State. And also one of its heads gets a head wound is also going to be the Trump head wound, right? Now, so, and by the way, it happened in the 48th state, Arizona, where Gabby Giffords got the head wound. And 48 is like the number 84, get it? And also the word Arizona itself equals 84, okay? And, but what's important is that that it got a head wound on the same day that the beast quake happened in Seattle, right? And then who comes to the rescue? Because Gabby Giffords was in a coma, and this is let me play this real quick, just real quick. You know what? I'm not going to play it. I'll just say it. So Obama, he does a speech. Literally the same day he went and visited Gabby Giffords 4 days after she was in a coma. 4 days, and she's still in the coma. He goes and visits her. 1 minute after he leaves the room, she opens her eyes. Okay, so what is that implying there? What they're saying is that Obama's birthday has something to do with the resurrection. Okay, because I told you Trump's gonna get his head wound on Obama's birthday. Trump's gonna get his head wound on August 4th, and something like 3 or 4 days later on 8/8, which happens to be the Lionsgate portal day 8/8, and Trump equals 88, the name. But so 4 days after Obama visited Gabby Giffords, she woke up. Trump 4 days later, after he gets his head wound on August 4th, he wakes up. You know, when I say wake up, he opens his eyes maybe from whatever coma he's in. But the reason I'm bringing up Trump connecting to the Gabby Giffords, who got the head wound on Elvis's birthday, which was the same day as the beast quake in Seattle, because Trump referenced the Gabby Giffords when Trump got his ear clipped. And before I say that, I just want to see if you have anything to say first, Cody.
No, I don't have much to say about Gabby Giffords or anything like that, but because I never really looked much into her, but it makes perfect sense what you're saying. So I don't really have much to add right now, but if I do, I'll let you know.
All right, then I'm gonna keep going. So Trump, when he got his ear clipped, how did he reference her? Because I told you I don't want to say the words, the event that I'm talking about, which I call the real event, is going to happen on August 4th. And how did he reference Gabby Giffords when he got his supposed ear clip? He went, fight, fight, fight. He raised his fist up and said, fight, 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 right? That was the big deal that Trump did that after he got his ear clipped. And that is Gabby Giffords. Gabby Giffords is the one who started the fight, fight, fight. That's every speech. That was her. She would say, fight, 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 the Gabby Giffords. And of course, fight, fight, fight is FFF is 666. But besides that, it's referencing the head wound. Okay, and what did Trump do? We just explained it. Let me play it one more time before I get into the further on that. What did Trump do after he got his ear clipped? He goes back 84 days later to Butler, Pennsylvania. And by the way, Butler, Pennsylvania initials is BP, which is 216. The letters B is 2, P is 16. That's August 4th, the 216th day of the year. Or June 11th, which is 16/2, the 162nd day of the year. But so what does he do? He goes back to Butler, Pennsylvania, and he does this.
As every father, husband in America hopes that he did protect his family.
Listen.
At this time, it is 6/11, 12 weeks to the minute that the shooting began. I would like to ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence. Or he had
so
tremendous.
So at 6/11, when he went back to Butler, Pennsylvania at 6/11, when he went back to Butler, Pennsylvania 12 weeks later, 12 weeks is 84 days. Okay. And so he referenced 6/11 and 8/4. Okay. And so he references both my predictions in there because he said 12 weeks. 12 weeks is 84 days. Okay. So that's why this is such a big deal that he's mentioning the fight, fight, fight with the Gabby Giffords. Okay. And connecting to the beast quake and everything else. Okay.
Garo,
and the fact
I didn't know that she said fight, fight, fight. I did not know that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. She was the one who came up with it.
She's got the Ford in her name. And of course, we know Lincoln was taken out in a Ford, and then Ford's Theater, or Lincoln was in Ford's Theater, and then JFK was in a Ford, so she got the Ford in her name. So that's a huge thing connected with assassinations. And yeah, so that's something I noticed right off the top. But
and she's married to an astronaut twin.
Oh yeah. Wow. I didn't know that either. I need to look more into Gabby Gifford. I haven't really looked much into her, but wow.
And the next congressman that was shot on Trump's birthday, 6/14, Steve Scalise. And they both have the same initials, by the way. One is GG, the other one is SS.
Steve Scalise. Steve Scalise, yeah. Born in a snake year, huh? So this year is also the year of the snake. That's interesting that this guy's born in a snake year. And don't forget, Elvis died in a snake year, and 9/11 happened in a snake year, and this is a snake year, and Pearl Harbor happened in a snake year, and the Vatican was founded in a snake year. And again, Elvis died in a snake year. Seattle slew one in a snake year. This guy's born in a snake year. So the snake year is so important.
We got to talk about the Pearl Harbor and how it connects to Elvis and to 9/11 and to June 11.
Yeah, we can talk about that if you want.
Oh, it's a must. So you got to put the dates in for me as I tell you.
Yeah, I will.
Sorry, I muted my mic. Sorry about that. So start with Elvis's birthday. Elvis's birthday to the exact day Pearl Harbor happened, which is 12/7/1941.
Okay.
So from Elvis's birthday, no, from night. What are you writing?
Hold on.
No, from Elvis's birthday, the exact day to, yeah, there it is. So from Elvis's birthday, the exact day he's born, to the exact day Pearl Harbor happened is 6 years, 11 months exactly. 6/11. And that is a water event. It was a water event, the Pearl Harbor. And Elvis equals water in gematria, exact same numbers. Elvis equals water, and Elvis equals reset, because water equals reset in gematria, exact same numbers. So that's why the water is such a big deal to these to this event. That's why Manhattan was right off the water, and Pearl Harbor, and then the next water event is going to be the Seattle, which is right off the water. When I say Seattle, folks, I'm talking about that whole area. We're not talking about just the Seattle area. You got to get out of Washington State before June 11. And also, what was the other big water event? The August 4th Beirut explosion, the biggest explosion we'd ever seen. And that happened on August 4th in 2020. And I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. That's why this is such a big deal, because it was the biggest explosion we'd ever seen. But anyway, Pearl Harbor is 6 years, 11 months from Elvis's birthday. You know what I mean? It's perfect. Okay. Now,
hey, Garo, I'll just stop you for a second real fast. But two things I want to mention. The 83 months exactly from Elvis's birth to Pearl Harbor. And of course, now it's going to be 83 years since Pearl Harbor, right? Because it says right here, it's 83 years ago that Pearl Harbor happened. And when Elvis was born, it was exactly 83 months before, which is 83 is kind of the carryover to 84, right? So that would be the beginning of the 84, because when you end your 83rd month, you finish it, you start your 84th month. So it's still kind of like perfectly the 8384 connection. And my friend Sean wrote in the chat, there's something interesting with me and Pearl Harbor, but this year when the Pope conclave began, I was exactly 12741 days old, which is the exact date of Pearl Harbor, 12741. I thought that was interesting. But
yeah, that's amazing. That is.
So yeah, I just thought that 83 is definitely worth mentioning, because it would be 83 years from. Actually, how many days is it from? Hold on a second. So it'd be 83 years and 187 days from Pearl Harbor to June 11th this year, which is interesting because 187 is the homicide code, right? So 83 is the murder code and 187 is the murder code. So that's crazy right there. Huh. That's interesting. But yeah, go ahead, Garl. Keep going.
So now I want to go into the prime numbers real quick. All right. So, and by the way, just to add to that, it was 6 years, 11 months, right, from Elvis's birth to the Pearl Harbor, but it was also 2,526 days, 25, 26, and we're in between the year 25 and 26. So 6 years, 11 months, 25, 26. Get it? So all right, so that's a connection with that. Now, with the 6 and 11, all right, the 6th prime is 13 and the 11th prime is 31. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can show this, but the 6th prime is 13, the 11th prime is 31. And then if you use the 13th prime and the 31st prime, what do you get? So if 6th prime equals 13, 11th prime equals 31, what do you get with the 13th prime and the 31st prime?
So 31 is the 11th prime. Or 127. 127 is the 31st prime. So that's the date of Pearl Harbor. And then the 6 or the, what was the other one, Gar?
11. Look up the 11.
All right, yeah, 11. 31. So yeah, I don't have this broken down, but yeah, 31 is the 11. And then 127 is the 31.
All right, let me just say it then. Let me just do it.
Okay.
All right. So the 6th prime, because we're talking about 611. 6th prime is 13, 11th prime is 31. Now, if you take the 13 and 31, the 13th prime is 41, and the 31st prime is 127. That's the exact date of Pearl Harbor. 127 and then 41.
Right.
Do you get it?
That's what I was.
I just forgot I needed to type in the 41. Yeah.
Right. So the 6th prime is 13, 11th prime is 31. Then you take the 13, it's 13th prime is 41, and the 31st prime is 127. That's the date of Pearl Harbor, 127, 41. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big deal right there. And just real quick, let me and yeah, you know what? The other connections are a little bit more, it's too complicated for this. So you might want to say something while I'm trying to figure out what to talk about.
Okay, well, going back to the Pearl Harbor thing, like we know that Pearl Harbor happened in a snake year. We're currently in a snake year again. And then 9/11 happened in a snake year. So things happen in snake years, guys. I mean, the 2 attacks on the United States, the biggest attacks on the United States in history, really, were in a snake year. And so this is a prime year for something to happen like that again. So I think that that's an important thing to once again mention. But I also had, let's see, I'm sure there's more.
What about talking about plutonium and the Pluto connection?
Yeah, so the plutonium thing is interesting, specifically because I think actually, you know what, Gar? I think, hold on. Yeah, plutonium actually equals Seattle slew. And Trump killed. And
it equals June 11, the 141.
And my girlfriend was in the chat earlier, and she reminded me that Trump killed also equals 141, which is interesting. So all these things equal 141. And what's interesting about that is that the first 3 digits after the pi are 141. Like, you know, pi is 3.141. So like this number always makes me think of pi, like completion, circles. So that there's something here with this 141. And the fact that this all equals 141, I don't think it's a coincidence. But do you have something you want to add, Gar?
Yeah, about the plutonium, first of all, Pluto equals 84, and it's the 248-year cycle on it, which I don't get into the planet stuff, but the only reason that I get into it is with this is because of plutonium being the 94th element, which I told you is connected to what I've been talking about also on my channel, connecting the 9495, which is connected to the year, the America's age being 248, 249 is going to be. All right. So 248 years is the cycle of the Pluto, right? Or something.
Yeah, it's
And
248 years. And last year on Trump's birthday, right? Because if you look at the orbit of Pluto, let me just show it real fast. If you look at the orbital days of Pluto, it's exactly 90,560 days. That's exactly how many days they say it takes for Pluto to orbit. So 90,060 days from the United States founding, right? 1776, July 4th to last year's Trump's birthday, right before he got reelected, was exactly that one Pluto year. You see on this calculator, it measures out, but it was exactly one plutonium year from the birth of the United States to Trump's birthday last year. And again, that's not a coincidence at all. I mean, that's improbable that it lands on exactly the amount of days that is a Pluto orbit, 90,560 days. So there's that. And then again, the 248 years, it's actually 247 it's in between 247 and 248 years. What's interesting about that too is another gematria thing, Seattle. If we're going to talk about that, Seattle, Washington equals 247. But that's just in reverse. But yeah, and in Seattle, Washington also, you know what, Gar, I wanted to mention this to you, but if you go to the Latin cipher, which I've shown is pretty interesting, Seattle, Washington has an interesting number. And again, there's not many things that equal this because it's very hard to get matches in this cipher. 1566 is the gematria of Seattle, Washington. And you might know that because that is the birthday or the birth year of King James. And this number is super important because Kobe Bryant played 1566 games in his career. His total career, he played this amount of games. And the Golden Gate Bridge took 1566 days to build. And this is, again, the birth year of King James. And
Kobe wore 24 and 8.
Right, the Pluto number. And Trump had his mugshot on that day. So
and America's age is 248. That's why we're talking about that.
Right. Yep. So that's what's interesting about this 1566. It connects to Kobe. It connects to the Golden Gate. Connects to King James, the Bible, the guy who's on the front of the Bible. So and actually, what's interesting is Seattle, Washington equals 1566, but Elvis, Aaron Presley in this cipher equals 1656. So do you see how it's really the same numbers? It's just reorganized. Like it's just Elvis, his full name literally equals the same digits. It's just you have to move the 6 around, And you know what's interesting about this measurement, Garo? If you go to the King's Chamber of the pyramid, and I learned this from another channel, but the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid has this 1656 in it. And I have a whole decode connected to Elvis to the pyramid, the King's Chamber. And I believe the reason that his name equals 1656 here is because it directly connects to Memphis and the pyramid, which has this number encoded into the pyramid. If you look at the measurements, I don't remember exactly what measurement it was, but if you go into the measurements, it literally equals this number, which is Elvis's full name. And again, we know Elvis was all connected to the Memphis and the pyramids. Like there's a pyramid in Memphis. There's a statue or a fake pyramid there. So yeah, that's interesting.
And Trump is born on the 165th, 166th day of the year. So 1656 is like the same thing as that.
Right. Yeah. I need to go back and look up that decode I was doing about the Great Pyramid because that's super interesting. with Elvis. And but yeah, I mean, back to the plutonium thing, you know, with plutonium just coming back and doing its return, you know, and now if you go from Trump's, you know, birthday, you know, obviously June 11th is only 3 days before Trump's birthday. And so yeah, it's actually 11 months and 28 days after his birthday, which 11/28, if that number is the 47th triangular number, Trump's the 47th president.
And the reason I brought up the plutonium connection, because obviously it's got to do with nuclear and all that, but the fact that it's a 94th element, which I explained to you, that connects to America's age, 94th day of, 9/4 being 247, 248 day on a leap year, and 9/5. If you've been watching my videos, like I said, folks, to anyone who's listening to this for the first time, you're not going to fully grasp the magnitude of anything I'm saying unless you're watching a bunch of videos where I outline it perfectly and lay foundation for everything. Right now is just, you know, it's probably a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but the 94th element is plutonium, 95th is americium. It's interesting that it has that America thing with the plutonium being something to do with nuclear. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because the elements having to do with gold and silver fits perfect with this puzzle. Because Elvis has been dead now 47 years. Trump is the 47th president, okay? And silver, which connects to Elvis, because silver has the word Elvis in it, all right, the name Elvis, and I'll explain that in a minute. The 79th element is gold, and Trump turned 79 on his birthday this year. So, because he has the gold and silver, because he's 47th president and 79th age. So you understand, gold is 79th element and 47th element is silver. Let me get into the silver, but I want what you're going to say real quick.
I was just going to say that if you connecting to this nuclear thing with the plutonium, the guy who's known for that is J. Robert Oppenheimer. And what's interesting about that is this actually has a huge connection to Seattle, and just to the gematria lens. I've always found this super interesting. We have a direct match between all of these things. We have Seattle, Washington, which equals the guy who did the Trinity test with plutonium, by the way, J. Robert Oppenheimer, 212. He did the Trinity test, which equals 212, and he did this on the Manhattan Project, which equals 212. And this all equals Seattle, Washington. And his name actually has a 2-cipher overlap with Seattle, Washington. And this is the guy who did the nuclear test, okay? And the 212 is the area code of New York, Manhattan, right? And you got the 212 here is the Manhattan area code. So, and don't forget, we talked about how Washington is the Apple state, New York is the Big Apple, the ATA. I mean, the ATA code's right in that too, you know? So, did I lose?
I want to talk to you about the silver connection.
Okay.
Can you type in the name? Can you type in this name and connect it to the word Elvis? Type in STEIN.
In the gematria?
Yeah, just type it in. Yeah, STEIN. All right. So let them know that Stein equals Elvis. All right. So the name Stein equals Elvis, and who, and silver has the name Elvis in it. Okay. The only added letter is the R. So take out the R out of silver, and you get the word Elvis. Okay. And what's the R? The 18th letter of the alphabet. Elvis is born on 1/8. So Elvis is basically silver. Okay. You understand? So now, why am I bringing that up? Because who bought the Twin Towers right before it went down? Silverstein. So you have a double Elvis. You have the silver, which is Elvis with 1/8, because the R is 1/8. So Elvis, 1/8, R, and then Stein, which is Elvis. Get it? Are you getting it? Remember, because it's all the Twin Towers falling.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Was it this guy? Yeah, so it was this guy, right? Silverstein. Wow. Doesn't Larry wait, I thought Larry equals
Larry
Elvis.
equals 74.
Oh, like Larry equals like Jesus almost. Yeah, or in the same cipher as Jesus. Huh. Interesting.
If you add Elvis and Larry, you get 141.
Yeah. Two cipher match the Seattle Slew too. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I totally didn't ever really look into this guy, but that's crazy. That is really crazy. This his Stein is literally it matches Elvis, and then you take the R out, which is the that's crazy. And don't forget too, the R is Elvis's birthday. But if you go, in astrology or in the alchemy, Garo, the moon is known as the silver, right? And what's interesting about that is in the tarot cards, right? The tarot cards, the moon card is the 18th card. So there you have again, you're going from the silver to the moon, which is the silver, and then that leads you back to the 1-8 again because the 1-8 is the silver card or the moon card. And yeah, but that's what I thought about there. There was something that I wanted to talk to you about too with the 1-9s. Did you want to talk more about your ATA code, or was there something else that you did you even finish that?
Well, the only thing I didn't finish with the ATA code. So the first pilot, his name was ATA, ATTA. Manhattan has the ATTA. 9/11 attacks has the ATTA in it, in the word attack. And Seattle has the ATT, and the space needle makes the other A. And the only other ATA I forgot to mention was the plane. The plane was American Airlines, which is AA, and it hit the Twin Tower, which is TT. So that's another ATA, AATT. Get it?
Yeah.
So that was that, And by the way, the word ATA, look it up. Put ATA means father and twin.
Hold on, my computer's almost dead, so I'm trying to plug my computer in. I'm about ready to lose the whole stream if I don't. Hold on 1 second, Garo. Oh. Sorry, guys. I would lose the whole stream if I didn't plug my computer in. All right, so what was it I need to type in?
Type in ATA means father and twin.
Ata meaning one who is a father, twin, or ancestor. And that's in Arabic. Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
Like Abba, you know what I mean? ABBA, like Abba.
Right. Well, that's kind of similar too, because the B is the second letter, and the two T's in the middle are the 20th. So you still have like the same with 20, the numerology of that would be just 2 again. So you have the similar numbers too.
Exactly.
So yeah, Ata, father, twin, and it's got the twin T's in the middle and the 2 A's. It's even got like the twin letters. It's got 2 sets of the same letters, like twin sets of letters, 2 T's and 2 A's, right? So, and that's what always got me with, Roman Reigns, right, in the WWE, who I talk about a lot. He was super connected to the Twin Towers and 9/11 and he is connected to Elvis too. I have found some great connections with him and Elvis, but he is all about the twins, right? He's a Gemini who's the twin, like Trump, but he used to wrestle with these 2 twin wrestlers, his cousins, who are his twins in the bloodline, right? And then he has 2 sets of twin kids, apparently. So not only does the guy being born in the twin sign, he's got a set of twin cousins he wrestles with, and yet he supposedly has 2 sets of twins. So he has 4 kids, 2 sets of twins. So this guy is like a twin magnet. And you know what's interesting, Garl? I'll bring this up for you to see. I wonder if you know anything about this number, because this is what I found with him and Elvis. So 1935, Elvis's birth, the twins. to the birth of Roman Reigns, the twin guy. Notice that it's exactly landing on a perfect day alignment. And this has to be important. I don't know what this number really means fully, but look at this. This is exactly a 184.00. So something with the 184. Well, we know the 84 is big, right? But look at the gematria of Roman Reigns. He's very famous for fighting in WrestleMania, right? Well, look at this. WrestleMania does have that. Roman Reigns is one of the biggest headliners of WrestleMania history, and that equals 184. Well, again, I just showed you from Elvis's birth to Roman Reigns' birth, exactly 184. And, you know, the cousin of Roman Reigns is The Rock. Well, his full name is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Oh, no, hold on. Maybe it's Dwayne Douglas Johnson. Hold on. Douglas. What is it? Or is it just Dwayne Johnson? Yeah, look at that. Dwayne Johnson is just his normal name. Dwayne Johnson would be 184 as well. So, and that's the cousin of Roman Reigns. So there's something here with this 184.
Elvis Presley equals Dwayne Johnson. Close. Type in just Elvis Presley by itself.
Right, yeah. Well, Elvis Presley and Dwayne Johnson are a 2-cipher match, I think, in the main ciphers. But yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence with this 184. And that's why I think that The Rock is involved with Roman Reigns, who's born here, right? So I don't know. Have you ever seen the 184?
Have you ever seen the 184? Well, the only thing I connect with that is Elvis is born on 1/8, and he needs the final leg is the 8/4, basically. You know what I mean? So other than that, I don't really see anything because 8/4 is when Trump gets his head one.
Well, I mean, that's pretty interesting, though. We're talking about Elvis's birth and then Trump's head wound kind of in there. So
yeah. And real quick, can you type in the Levi's Elvis logo? Put Levi's Elvis logo.
Levi's Elvis logo. Oh, okay.
Can you click on one? Yeah, click on either one. Yeah, the one where Elvis, the one on the very far right, way on the far right, up.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. Just click on that one. Notice that notice that it looks like a crown. Can you see the top part like it looks like a crown?
Yeah.
Okay,
like
but that's not how the
waves.
Yeah, and it looks like waves, like water, because Elvis equals water. But that's not the way the logo is. It's usually upside down. Get the Levi's logo up.
Levi's.
See, the Levi's logo is the upside down crown.
Yeah.
Okay, and Levi's is Elvis. Now, so remember, it's upside down crown. Now type in the word Washington and then type in upside down.
Perfect match.
Yeah, upside down equals Washington.
And you know what's interesting about this, Carl? I have another decoder who people are really familiar with. His name is Rambo, and I'm going to be on with him next week on this other guy's channel. But his birthday is 6/11, right? This Rambo decoder, his birthday is 6/11, and he always talks about the upside down. That's what he's always talking about Trump and the upside down. And they literally just talked about this on their stream the other day or this morning when they did their stream about the upside down equaling Washington. And because, you know, the upside down is connected to also not just that, but also to the upside down, the tarot card, the Hanged Man, which is the guy hanging upside down. Like that's what he is. He's hanging upside down in the tree, right? So it's interesting.
And also the word Levi's is like lives and lives, evils, whatever. But really, it's like the Black Lives Matter. You know, it's Black Elvis matters. And what exactly does that mean? It's pointing to the dark star.
Mhm.
You know that Elvis is the only one that has a black star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Black Star. And Elvis had a song called Black Star, just like David Bowie, who was born on Elvis's birthday. And his last album was called Black Star, David Bowie, because it's connected to Elvis. Elvis is the Black Star. He's the only one who had a black star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It doesn't show it. You got to really, you know, they don't want to advertise it, but there's actual video of it too that I've shown.
I see.
Yeah, but he's the only one that has they moved his original star. And and now nobody has it. Nobody has a name where his original star was. They just have an empty star. And it was black. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is now, but it was black.
Hey, did you want to bring up real fast? I think one of the really important parts of this is, you know, that check that was the 611 check that is waiting to be written. Like, I think that's like really important. But yeah, Gar's muted, but I think you're muted.
Can you type in my name and then put last check Elvis wrote? Let's see what happens.
In YouTube?
In YouTube? Type my name first, you know, Jurassic Liars, and then put last check Elvis wrote.
I gotta close out some tabs here.
Oh, all right.
I got so much stuff.
It'll take me too long to find it.
So what do you want me to type in? Elvis?
Jurassic Liars. Elvis. I'm Elvis's last check he wrote. Jurassic Liars, Elvis's last check. Yeah, that's it right there. Now, if you go in the video.
Can you guys hear that?
No, forget about it. You don't need the volume.
Okay.
You don't need volume. They're not going to be able to hear that anyway, like you said. I don't know why I made you do it if we're not going to show. Because I want you to show the picture. You know, go to, yeah, if you move, you should see it when you see it up there. Right there, I think that's where it is. Right there, he points to it.
Yeah.
The last check that Elvis wrote was 610. And then the guy points to that check and says, and the check that, you know, he goes, and the check that was never written. Oh, no, it was waiting to be written, it says. He says, the check 611, waiting to be written. Waiting to be written. Can you imagine? I mean, what kind of craziness is that? That was the last check Elvis wrote was 610. You know.
I mean, when did you find this, Gar? How long ago did you find this?
Well, it's years ago. Years ago I found it. And it was under I was just going through some of the videos. They were talking about Vernon's office, Vernon Presley's father, and they showed that but what I want you to do is go back to like almost the beginning, not too much, but you'll see a check. Now keep going till you see a check number. Keep going. Right there. Look at the check number at the bottom, will you? Can you move forward into it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it. It's just 611E4.
Yeah, that's not his check. That's not the check number we were just looking at. This is the code for the checks.
And look, even it says Memphis, Tennessee 38116.
Yeah. But look at the check number, man. What is those things called? The serial numbers? What are those?
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you have 611 and 84 on the checkbook, and then the last check happens to be 611? I mean, that's going to not be written that hasn't been written yet.
The 611 is on there 3 times.
Yeah, you're right. With the area, with the zip code. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. So yeah, I mean, like this is one of the things that really like cements it, in my opinion. And even the A4 is here too.
Right.
So
yeah, and you know that Trump's bringing up this Alcatraz thing lately. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, that's what's that connected to?
Well, because you know why Alcatraz is famous, right?
Yeah, it was a prison, right? Yeah,
well,
I don't know a lot about it.
Well, no, the big connection to it was the prison escape. That was the big deal. The escape from Alcatraz. That's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look up the date when the prisoners escaped from Alcatraz.
Oh, it's June 11th. Yeah.
June 11th. See. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Man, look, folks. Look. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say to anyone watching, like I said, you're not going to grasp the complete magnitude of what we're showing unless you watch the videos. But Cody, I need for sure to show the last part about the Super Bowls and the connection to 611 and 84 with the 666. So make sure, let me know when you're about to end the video. You know what I mean? Give me the last like 5-10 minutes.
About the Super Bowl, you said?
Well, no, I want to connect Elvis to a few things, and then, you know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Well, what do you think about the Mars stuff? I just want to get your feedback.
Well, you know, I'm not into. See, that's the problem. I saw the connection, and I think it's great, but I don't know much about how it works. You know what I mean? But it's. I get it. It's especially with the Trump with the 42-year thing. You know, that was
like the fact that it lands on the exact Mars year with the start of Kim Jong-un's term, right? So like it's just, and again, like I said, it's very hard to land on a Martian year. You can do hundreds of date measurements and never land on a Martian year. So to land on that for Trump on that day. When I saw that, I knew it was big because that's why I needed to measure all kinds of Martian stuff, because I knew that when I saw that Trump turned 42 Martian years that day, and you're talking about the 42nd state and a guy who died at 42, Elvis, and the war code, which connects to Kim Jong-un, and I knew to immediately look into him. And then it just happened to be that from Kim Jong-un to that day is 687 weeks. You don't even need the Mars year there, because 687 weeks is pointing you to Mars even then, because there's 687 days in a Martian year. So it's both ways, and yeah, but that to me, like, really makes it really crazy how this year lines up with, especially everything that's going on right now with Trump meeting with these people and talking about peace. And also don't forget the big one. This year, they gave us the June 11th in front of millions of people on wrestling. I mean, they haven't done that any other year. They haven't done that any other year but this year. So, and then Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, he loses on that same day that Elvis turned 48 Martian years. So again, pointing to Elvis and pointing back to all that. And so that was the gist of this. And then, like, the thing I found today really blew my mind with the 611 thing and the sunset. The sun setting in the Northwest at 611 today. But like the biggest thing, like, that's what I don't know how much I really more have to add. I kind of just wanted to pick your brain more about like a few different things. I would like to hear what you have to say about the what was it you were going to talk about, the football, the Super Bowls.
Okay, well, let's just real quick go through the Super Bowl stuff. So first of all, the first Super Bowl was in 67 and the second one was in 68, right? And Elvis equals 67 forward, 68 backwards. So that's the first connection there. And I could go into the dates of when it was too, but forget about that. So Elvis equals 67, backwards 68. The first two Super Bowls were 67, 68. And who won it was Green Bay Packers. Green Bay, all right? Green Bay, what do you think of Green Bay? You think of Emerald City also because it's green. It's the Emerald City, right? Mm-hmm. And the Super Bowl trophy is named after that coach who won the first two Super Bowls, Vince Lombardi. And now they named the Super Bowl trophy Vince Lombardi. And when was Vince Lombardi born? June 11th. Okay, so the trophy is June 11th. All right. Mm-hmm. And so then they had a Elvis halftime Super Bowl in 1989. And you know, Elvis, his name equals 6722. And from the first Super Bowl to the second Super Bowl it was 67, then it went to 89. So 67 plus 22 is 89. Get it? But anyway, so the Elvis halftime Super Bowl, he wasn't there. It was a impersonator. That was the only time in Super Bowl history where the score was 20-16, 16-20. The year the Elvis halftime Super Bowl. The only time in Super Bowl history where the score was 20-16, 16-20. And Elvis died. Elvis was born in the 20th state, died in the 16th state. 1620, 2016 is the same numbers as 162, June 11th, 216, August 4th. Okay, same exact numbers again. All right. And that was when Elvis, that was right before Elvis became Satan. The next year he became Satan. So, and I'll tell you what I mean when I say that. So the 1989 Super Bowl was the Elvis halftime Super Bowl. Then the next Super Bowl, 1990, was the next one. That was the year Elvis turned 55. Can you put what Satan equals real quick and show them the first two numbers, the forward numbers? 55-10 was, and now show them the Super Bowl score the year Elvis turned 55. So 1990 Super Bowl.
Let's see, where is it?
1990.
That was the year I was born.
Yeah, there you go. So the year that Elvis turned 55, Satan equals 55-10. The Super Bowl score was 55-10. And remember, the Super Bowl trophy is June 11th. Okay? Vince Lombardi. Okay? And that was the year Elvis turned 55 in the year 90. And now Elvis is 90 right now. Okay? And I told you that's what this is telling you. The beast out of the sea is about to happen. But now let's go to the 55th Super Bowl. Who was at the 55th Super Bowl? Who was the halftime idiot? Who was that halftime idiot?
It was
The Weeknd.
The Weeknd, yeah.
Yeah, and he was wearing bandages at the 55th Super Bowl. Okay? And what does that mean? They're telling you that Satan, who is, let's say the Antichrist, is going to be in bandages. You know what I mean? Like he's going to get some type of head wound. Okay? And right away, I told everyone it's connected to Trump, that The Weeknd. Why he has that get up, because Trump is the one who's going to get the head wound, right? And how old was Trump during 9/11? 55. Okay, so now, and by the way, when Obama handed over the reins to Trump, Obama was 55 that year. He had turned 55 years old when Trump won the election and when Trump became president. He was 55, Obama. And Obama was born on August 4th. and Trump was 55 when 9/11 happened. Okay. Now, so how does the head wound connect? How does the weekend connect to the head wound? I mean, to him dressing like, with that. Look at the date the weekend is born. Look at the date the weekend is born.
Yeah.
He's born on February 16th. Okay. February 16th is 216, the numbers. August 4th is the 216th day of the year. And he was born in the year 90, the year Elvis turned 55. The year the Super Bowl was 55-10, and he's the 55th, and he's at the 55th Super Bowl dressed with bandages all over his head. Okay. And 216 is the 47th day of the year, and it's 1 month, 16 days. So you have 611, the numbers, 116, get it? 1 month, 16 days is like 611. The 47th day of the year, Trump being the 47th president, and Trump and Elvis being dead for 47 years. Okay. And if you type in his name, Abel Makonnen Tesfaye, if you type in that, to look what it equals in the forward numbers, 185.68. Now type in Donald John Trump. It'll equal the same in the forward numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the two cipher match, the most important part, the forward numbers, with Trump. And now he's wearing I told you Trump's going to make a comeback. The word bandages equals exactly the word comeback. And he was wearing bandages. Bandages equals comeback.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And now the last thing is he had the bandages because he has a head wound, right? Head wound equals exactly the name, The Weeknd. So The Weeknd equals head wound. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are impossible coincidences, dude.
Yeah, impossible. And did you ever check like any of the measurements between his birth and Trump's and all that?
I probably did, but I don't remember. You know what I mean? Because because I've done the video so many times over again. Because when they took down my channels, the first 41 times. But because I'm on my 42nd channel,
Right.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting too. If we go back through this, all these numbers, it's Donald John Trump equals his full name, bandages equals his comeback, and then the head wound equals the weekend. So
yeah, and the fact that he was born the year Elvis turned 55, and then he's doing the 55th Super Bowl, Satan equals 55. And the year Elvis turned 55, the Super Bowl score was the number of Satan, 55-10.
Well, did you see what they wrote in this Wikipedia? They mentioned the year December 1941. I mean, that's Pearl Harbor. And look, they didn't mention December 1935. That's the year Elvis was born.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. Oh, and by the way, they had an angel coming down from above in his halftime show.
Oh, really?
Does anyone remember that in the chat? They had like this weird angel, and he was like sitting on some kind of ledge the weekend. I don't know.
See if I can.
Yeah. They had some kind of weird angel.
Super Bowl 55. Halftime. I don't know.
Somebody in the chat remembers it. They had this weird, like, it was a see-through something coming down. It looked like a white sheet coming down at the halftime show of the weekend. You got to put Super Bowl 55th Super Bowl halftime show. That's what you have to put, you know. And angel coming down or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter. But anyway, he was the halftime show at the Super Bowl.
Well, that's Super Bowl LIV, like live. Or is it? No, never mind. The way they wrote this, it looks like LIV.
Yeah, it's got part of Elvis's name in it.
Huh. Well, you know, the live is connected to the golf company. Oh, sorry guys, the echo. Somebody in the chat is saying
I'll shut it off. Go ahead.
But yeah, sorry about the echo, guys. It's coming. We don't know where it's coming from really, but what I was just gonna say was that the live thing being there, it's not really what's there, but they put the Super Bowl trophy right in the middle of. Remember, the Super Bowl trophy is named after a guy that's born on 6/11, and the L and the I and it looks like an LIV, right? Like live. Well, there's a golf thing called Live Golf. And this has been really a big topic the last couple of years because Live Golf was like an Arabic, it's a Saudi thing. It's Saudi Arabia. And you know, there's something going on with the Middle East, of course, and the Live Golf, you know, Derek from Jamashinator, he's brought that up a lot. And there's also a wrestler named Liv Morgan, which, you know, Liv Morgan, I don't want to get into all that, but anyway, I just thought, what I thought here is I thought of this Live Golf, and we know how much Trump loves his golf and all the golf stuff connected with Trump. Look at that. Look at that, Garo. Look at Live Golf.
That equals Memphis.
Yep. Exactly. Crazy. I didn't even know that, to be honest. So but yeah, that's Roman numerals for 54. I guess that's what they're pointing to there. But that equals exactly what we were talking about earlier with Memphis and Germany. So if you guys missed the beginning, we talked about a lot of different subjects here. Okay, Gar, I'll let you finish your Super Bowl stuff. Is that everything that or I'm sure you have more here?
Well, no, I just want to make sure that they see the last part of the. Oh, and by the way, the Super Bowl, that was the Elvis halftime Super Bowl, and the year Elvis turned 55 was won by the 49ers, which again is connecting to that 9-4 number, but forget about that. 4 times 9 equals 36, which is the 666. But the 49ers won both the Elvis connection Super Bowls that I was just telling you. And who was the quarterback? Joe Montana. Joe Montana was the quarterback for the 49ers. And guess when Joe Montana's born? Type it in, and if they want, I don't know if you want to put that in.
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana. He's born on June 11th.
The comeback
kid. Go ahead.
The comeback kid is they call him the comeback kid. And remember, the next year's Super Bowl, Garo, I'm sure you know this, but the next year's Super Bowl is going to be in Levi Stadium in San Francisco. So
perfect.
And I mean, they call this the Field of Genes. That's interesting. And remember the song Elvis is Everywhere? I got to pull that up. Elvis is Everywhere. Because again, this is all from Garo. This is none of my new information, but you know, Garo's mentioned this song many times. It's called Elvis is Everywhere. And you know, when I look into your eyes out there, when I look out into your faces, you know what I see? I see a little bit of Elvis in each and every one of you out there. Elvis is everywhere. Elvis is everything. Elvis is everybody. Elvis is still the king. Man, oh man, what I want you to see is the big E's inside of you. Okay, so you see how he says the big E's there, Garo? Well, this has another direct connection to wrestling because there's a wrestler named Big E. I just want to bring this up because I think it's interesting. There's literally a wrestler called Big E. And in the song Elvis is Everywhere, they use the phrase Big E's. And this guy actually, he got injured. He's been out for a long time. And he might eventually come back. So I wonder if this is going to connect to the comeback story. But I know for sure this is connected somehow. I just haven't looked into it, but that is something I've wanted to tell you before, is the Big E, the Elvis, the Big E in the song. And he is black. You know, Elvis, I see a lot of connections with Elvis and black. They say Elvis, he got his music skills from listening to black singers, I think is what they say. So, yeah, but anyway, inside of you, Elvis is everywhere, man. He's in everything and everybody. Elvis is in your genes. And why do they say that? Because Elvis is in your genes, which is Levi's Stadium, which is the Levi's, the pants, the jeans.
And that's the DNA, and the DNA, the genes.
Yeah, but that's what they mean. It's a clever play on words because they write it as the genes, right? As in your Levi's jeans, but they're actually talking about the genes too, like the DNA. And you know what, Garo? The DNA is connected to this year too, because all right, so think about what's happened this year. We had a pope be selected with the lion, right? Leo. And we're in the serpent year, we're in the snake year. So who is the lion? Who is the lion snake god, right? I don't know if you've ever looked into this, but this is obviously connected to Elvis, I believe. Like, this is the perfect year to have a lion as the pope, because the demiurge in the Gnostic stuff is literally a lion-headed snake or a lion-headed serpent called Yaldabaoth. And so we have not only the snake year connection here, but we get a pope, which means lion this year. So I know that there's something going on with this year. There's something big. And the DNA is the tribe of Dan, right? And the tribe of Dan is a reference to the DNA, which is the reverse of that. And Dan connects to lions. I did a video about that last year when Trump was in or what was it? Oh yeah, when the playoffs were going on in the football last year, the Washington team, their head coach was Dan Campbell, right? Like DNA Dan. And then their player's name, their star quarterback's name was Daniels. So they had a Dan coach and a Daniels. And that references to Daniel in the Lion's Den. And then right after that, or right before that, Trump came out with the Stargate Project. And the Stargate Project, I connected to the DNA in the show, the Stargate series. They had the serpent DNA. So again, we're going back to this. We're making a big circle here, but Elvis is in the genes, the DNA. They say that Yaldabaoth is the creator of the material realm and the false god of the material realm. So that's the DNA, right? Our DNA is material. It's not spiritual. So this clearly connects to Yaldabaoth. And Yaldabaoth is the child of chaos. That's what he means. So there's definitely something there.
The only thing I connect with those fake gods or whatever the heck you're talking, I don't really get into that, but because whenever it's too much research for me when it comes to like having to read stuff, then I get lost with that. But I will say that the Janus god is what I attribute Elvis and Trump to, the two-faced god, which is the past and the present, which if you listen, and for the people, like I said, if you're you know, you're not going to grasp the whole magnitude of what I'm showing the new people. You have to watch my videos to fully grasp it. Okay, but you know what I do want you to show? I don't know if you ever saw this. Play the Seattle Bye 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 video, but when you don't need you don't need to hear it, because I don't want you to, it'll get a copyright anyway, right away, if you play it. What I want you to show, you don't even have to show it. Just put Seattle. Yeah, stop it when you see, stop it when you see the 18, the number 18 catching it.
Yeah, I won't even play the video because it'll immediately get like a thing, but I'll fast forward to the part.
Yeah, don't even do it. Yeah.
Because they if I play videos, they even. So it's close to the end, isn't it?
Yeah, right when he catches it, the guy catches the ball. Right. Can you bring it close to the number, that way you can see it?
I don't know if I can make it closer.
Oh, man, I forgot his name now. My brain just went blank on who the guy's name was. But anyway, so let me tell you what happened. So they're showing the very first time, you know how football players do a dance? Sometimes they do this weird dance. They did a dance to the music Bye Bye Bye. And the very first time that any football player did that was at the Seattle Stadium. This was the first one, that very first time. That was it right there, what you're seeing. And they went to after, and they started dancing, and they were singing to the fans, bye, 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 to their fans. They're saying bye, 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 because the song is called Bye, 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 whatever, by NSYNC. Get it? Like sync. All right. And why am I bringing this up? Because the player who caught that ball before they did this dance, this is the very first time they did that dance, was the number 18. Okay. And you know what? I need to find what the dude's name was. I forget now.
Jaron Brown.
Jaron Brown. Put his birth date in. Ask for his birthday.
January 8th.
So the guy's wearing number 18, and he's born on 1/8. I mean, he's born on 1/8, which is Elvis's birthday, wearing the number 18, and they're singing Bye, Bye, Bye to the fans in Seattle. And I believe they were playing Cleveland, which is it Cleveland? They were playing Cleveland that day, and that Trump's going to get his head wound. I told you in I'm not sure who they were playing, but I thought they were.
You know, he ended his whole career. He ended with 116 receptions.
Wow, there you go, another connection.
Like, that's his entire career. I don't think he's playing anymore. That's going to be his total forever. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he's wearing the number 18. I didn't look at the date. I forget what the date was when it happened, that video.
Look, he wore the numbers 13 and 18, man.
Revelation 13:18, right?
What? Revelations 13:18 is about the 666, and this guy literally wears those two numbers. And don't forget, 6 + 6 + 6 is 18, which is wearing on his shirt. And then he finishes with 116 receptions, which is kind of like the day June 11th, backwards. Let's see what I just want to see what his name equals, because this guy, I need to look more into him, but Jaron Brown. It equals Washington. What? Look at this. What did we just talk about? It equals Washington, folks.
That was it. That was the part I forgot.
I mean, wow. Upside down equals Washington equals Jaron Brown. And don't forget, 611 is the 911 upside down, right? So you have that connection. You have this guy, who had 116 receptions in his career. And he's wearing the 1/8. Wow. And he's got the 13-18 connection.
And they're singing bye, bye, bye.
The Cleveland thing is also crazy because the Cleveland Monsters, this is the hockey team in Cleveland. And look, their symbol is the beast out of the sea. Or kind of.
And the 216 area code.
Yeah.
Which is.
That's wild.
Okay, now, real quick, let me just not end it with this, but let me give the big deal here. So this is how you know that this is supernatural, these predictions. Let me explain to you guys, okay? So my two predictions are 6/11 and August 4th, okay? Now, what's in between 6/11 and August 4th? Can you put that up, Cody?
The date measurement.
Yeah. Add the day. So in between my two predictions is 55 days. Satan equals 55, okay? Now, in between my two predictions is 55 days, Satan equals 55. And what is August 4th? It's the 216th day of the year. 6 times 6 times 6 equals 216. So now we know that August 4th is connected to the 666, right? And it's 55 days from June 11th to August 4th. And Elvis Aaron Presley equals 216, okay? So that means that Elvis needs to get to that August 4th, okay? And how is he doing it? Because he is Satan, so he needs to get the 55 and connect it to August 4th. And how is he going to do that? With the 611. Okay, now pay attention. What is 611 plus 55, Cody?
Well, I'll show people.
There you go. So from the date 611 to August 4th is 55 days. And 611 plus 55 is 666. And that's the number Satan needs. He needs the 666, right? That's what the Bible tells you. Okay? How much perfect do you want it to be? You know? I mean, those are the two dates. 6/11, August 4th, 55 days in between. August 4th is the 6 times 6 times 6 day of the year, which is the 216th day of the year. 6 times 6 times 6 equals 216. And Elvis Aaron Presley equals 216. I mean, you know, it's too perfect, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Just to show people the 216 is the 6 cubed, 6 times 6 times 6. You know what's interesting? I know you don't use composite numbers, but it's something that's really come up in recently that's been very helpful. The 168 or 216 is the 168th composite number. And that's Elvis's death date. 168. So that's something to, that's just an extra little bonus, but that's nothing big, but definitely interesting with that his birth date is connected also to the 216, his death date, I mean. But what was I going to say? I was going to say something to go back to this Jerron Brown thing. I totally forgot. Oh, do you know something interesting about the Cleveland thing? Did you guys know that the new Pope, who's also born in 55, by the way, so you got another 55, but if you go to the 41st parallel, so if you look up the coordinates of, the new Pope is from Chicago, right? And that's on the 41st parallel. Where is it? Oh, right here, 41 degrees north, right? That's Chicago. Well, Cleveland is also, if I can spell, Cleveland is on the 41st parallel. So Cleveland on the 41st parallel, Chicago on the 41st parallel. Well, where's Vatican City where the new Pope is going to be, also on the 41st parallel. And we've talked already a bit about the 41, but so I think right now it's like pointing a lot to the 41 with the Pope is from Chicago on the 41st parallel. The Cleveland connection you're just talking about is also in the 41st parallel. And then the new Pope's home, Vatican City, is on that same parallel. So, and then we talked about the 41. That was the year of Pearl Harbor. 41 connects back to the 127 or the date of Pearl Harbor, right? And then don't forget, Kobe Bryant was the Black Mamba, the snake, and the 41s. There so many 41s that I've talked about and everyone else has talked about, and I don't know. There was something else I was going to say, Gara, but I completely lost it. I know I had something really good to say, but it just completely slipped my mind.
Well, the Cleveland is a 216 area code, but you see all the connections with what we just showed with the football player wearing the number 18, which is Elvis's birthday, 1/8. He's born on 1/8, and his name equals Washington.
Oh, yeah, and don't forget the Beastquake happened on 1/8 from the same team. So I think we should. I just kind of want to look and see how many days apart. Do you know when this game was? The Cleveland game? Hold on. Cleveland Browns. Seattle Seahawks. 2019. Was this the game? Had to have been.
What's the date on the video?
Yeah, I don't think that was the same day it was posted. I think it was just posted one day later than the game. So it was actually on October 13th. Hold on. October. Why doesn't it ever give dates here? Yeah, October 13th, 2019. Oh, look at that. It had 67,000 in attendance, Gara. 67,431 in attendance.
Wow, good catch on that one. Elvis equals 67, right?
So yeah, so if we go from October 13th, okay, we go from the Beastquake, 2011. I just want to see. I'm just interested to see what it is. October 13th. Oh, wow. Look at that. Exactly a date measurement. 32. Doesn't Elvis equal 32? Yeah. So 3,200 days exactly from the Beastquake to the game where Jerron Brown did that. 3,200. I mean, when it does that, always know there's something to that. When it lands on a 00, because you're just getting a number 32 here, and also could be 3, 2, 1, like a countdown.
Can you check from that date to June 11th this year, from the date of the bye thing?
Yeah. 67 months and 30 days. Interesting. Well, it is exactly. I mean, I know you don't measure in moons, but it is exactly 70 lunar phases, so 70 moons. But the 268, I'm not sure what that. The 268, 269 days. Oh, that's the 312. Well, this is big because 312 prime That's Trump's huge number this year because he had 312 votes, and everything with the Pope recently was tied to the 312. The Chicago area code is 312. The new Pope, he had a bunch of 312s, and the first Pope, his name equaled 312. So yeah, there's something.
I think from August 4th to June 11th might be 312. Can you check that? August 4th to June 11th.
August 4th to June. In the same year, you mean? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, Joseph is in the chat. The Pope died 312 days from Trump's birthday, Garl. And Trump got 312 votes. And again, from that game to June 11th is 312 prime.
The reason I said go because remember the Beirut explosion happened on 8/4, and then you know what I mean to 6/11. That's why I'm saying that. You know.
Yeah, but still in a calendar year, if you go from the August 4th, the year before, to the next June 11th, it's going to be 312. That's big, and that's also 44 weeks and 4 days. And that was a huge number with the Pope as well. I mean, the new Pope had a lot of 444s and a lot of 312s. Like that was huge in the decodes I saw people doing. There's a lot of that, so that could be another signal. Joseph is also saying Jorge Mario Bergoglio equals 312. Doma Sancte Marte equals 312. Yeah. Chicago's area code. Yeah, that's right. What about Chicago? Gar, what do you have to say about Chicago?
Well, you know, other than the zip code having the 666 in it, I don't really. The only thing I could think of is, you know, of course, Obama. You know, Obama, the first time he became senator, I think was January 8th, or whatever he became. It was January 8th. I think they put him in 1997 or 98. I can't remember, which is Elvis's birthday. Other than it being the 21st state, which is an important number, you know. But no, I don't know much about Chicago other than that.
Well, the one thing I was looking at today with the new Pope being from there is that
Illinois. Sorry, Illinois being the 21st state. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. But the one thing I was thinking about earlier today was the new Pope was all connected to the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox, and the Chicago Cubs had 108 years World Series drought, remember? And that happened in 2016. That ended, right? So you have the 1-8 and the 2-16 again. And then
that's a great one. That's a great catch.
Yeah, and then the White Sox, they just released that they were going to take Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson off of the exempt list in the MLB, and those two teams played and were part of the World Series that back in 1919, and so the White Sox, the other team from Chicago, their streak of no World Series was 88 years. So you had the 108 for the Cubs, and then you had the 88 years winless streak for the White Sox. And the 88 is the Trump, of course. And that connects to Back to the Future, because I have a whole decode I think I'm getting ready to release about how the new Pope is clearly... Actually, you guys just want to see this? I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't do this now, but there's a huge connection to Back to the Future and this new Pope, which obviously connects to Trump. But I don't know, Gar, if it's too late for you and you want to get off, we whenever you're ready to end it, we can end it. I don't know when.
Yeah, let's end it in the next 5-10 minutes. I just want to play, since you mentioned Back to the Future, I want to play that one clip of the Back to the Future writer. There's two writers, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. Watch what Bob Gale says about the movie Back to the Future. Just give me a second. Go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah, well, I guess that would be actually, I will just quickly show my slides then. If you're going to talk about Zemeckis, I got to show this. After you play that, I got to show this because let me just pull up my slides because I have already put this together. And it's not even a long decode. It's very quick. But whenever you're ready, Garo, go ahead and play that.
Okay, this is some dude. I don't even know who the guy is. Like I said, I found this interview. And by the way, they scrubbed this off the internet, this interview. The guy who did this interview put it on private. You can't find this video, all right? Except if they got it from my channel, you might find it somewhere. But this Bob Gale is doing an interview with this guy, and listen to what because they're talking about the Back to the Future and how people predict this stuff. Listen to what he says.
Correct. In part 2, when Biff owns a casino and needs to put his name and his picture on everything, one of the inspirations for that was Mr. Trump.
So some fans believe that Back to the Future predicted the 9/11 attack. Is there any truth to that, Bob?
Of course. We predicted everything. We predicted the assassination of John F. Kennedy years after.
That's another one. That's another one that's here.
Yeah. We predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will. No, we predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will. We predicted Elvis's death and his resurrection, which hasn't happened yet, but it will.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's crazy. That's crazy. I remember that now, but I always forget it too that you showed that. But so look at this. Connecting now to Robert. That was Robert Zemeckis, or that wasn't Robert Zemeckis, was it? That was Bob Gale that said that. Okay, yeah. So, but Robert Zemeckis, right? Look at this crazy comparison between Robert Zemeckis and Robert the new Pope. Look at this. So not only was Robert Zemeckis named Robert, like the new Pope, he's also a White Sox fan, like the new Pope. They're both born in Chicago. And what's interesting is they're born 12, 18 days apart. That's the old, that's one day after the old Pope's birthday, 1217 was, and in the trigonal cipher, Pope Leo equals 1218. But that's not important. What's important is they both are equal. They both named Robert. They both from Chicago. They're both White Sox fans. And we know Obama is a White Sox fan. So here we go back to the Trump 8-4 stuff. Obama, a White Sox fan. The new Pope is a White Sox fan. When the Pope was elected, he had white smoke, like White Sox, right? White smoke was coming up to signify that he was elected. And in Obama's movie, Leave the World Behind, the white lion emerges from the sea to start the blackout, right? The first thing that we see in the movie Leave the World Behind that signifies the blackout has come is the white lion, the beast coming out of the sea, the lion. And the white lion, right? Just like the white smoke is rising out of the pit to signify the Chicago, right? And again, Obama and this Robert, the new Pope, are both Chicago connected. But this is where it's interesting because, just real quick. So big shout out to Serverbot. He was the one that put me onto this. But look at this. From the birth of Pope Leo to the first date of time travel in Back to the Future, the day they time traveled, 10/26/1985, exactly 11,000 days. Again, exactly 11,000. Well, Pope equals 11, Jesus equals 11. But this is important because the 11 is, of course, the towers, but it's also the streaks. You see the streaks that happen on the ground when they do the time travel? It's an 11, right? The number 11 is like a door, right? When you walk through the two pillars, it's like a door. So from his birth to the first time travel date is exactly 11. That's why this guy was chosen right here. Exactly 11. So there's your 9/11, your 6/11. Remember, 66 is the 11th triangular. A lot of 11s. But look at this. The day that they traveled back in time from 1026, when he was 11,000 days old, to the date November 5th, 1955 in the movie. And look how many days the Pope was born before they traveled back to 1955. Exactly 52 days before the date they traveled to. In the same year he was born, 1955. He was 52 days old on the day they traveled to. And that's the gematria of Pope. And just the base cipher. Pope is 52. The new Pope was 52 days old on the day they time traveled to, the year he was born. And in that movie, as soon as Marty travels back to 1955, one of the first things he does is go through the Lion's portal. Look at this. This is the Lion's Gate portal right here. The 2 lion estates, the lions on either side. The new Pope's name means lion. All right. And this Pope was born in 1955, the same year that this is happening. And it's Lion's Estates. And the new Pope is from the States, right? Lion, Leo, from the States. And if you go from the other movie they travel back to 1885. Well, from his birth to the movie release was 1885. So he's encoded with that too, the year they go back to here. And again, he's a White Sox fan, but at first the Cubs came out and said that he was a Cubs fan. Right? So there was a debate on what fan he was. And look, is the Pope Leo a Chicago Cubs or a White Sox fan? And in the movie, Back to the Future, there is a thing about the Cubs being in the World Series and winning. And Robert Zemeckis is the one who wrote this. He's from Chicago. Right? And again, they traveled back to the year the Pope was born. He was 52 days old, like Pope. He goes through the Lion's Gate, the Lion's Portal. The Lion's Portal is on 8/8, which you've talked about, Garo, how Trump will get his wound and maybe he comes back on 8/8. And yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it. But from the date they traveled back to, or the date they travel in the movie, the first day in the movie to then the Cubs actually win the World Series, right? In 2016, 108 years after their last World Series, they win the real life World Series. In the movie, it was a fake win. They didn't really win it, but they actually win it exactly 31 years later from the day they win it in the movie. That's the 11 again. So when the Pope was born, he was 1,100 days old. So if you go off this timeline from the Pope's birth to the movie, 1,100 days. If you go from the movie to the World Series, it's the 11th prime years. And then if you go from the World Series to the Pope being elected, it's 4 weeks. Exactly. So yeah, definitely something with this. Again, they're both White Sox fans. They're both named Robert. They're both from Chicago. And you can't tell me they don't look at least a little bit alike. Like these pictures I got maybe makes it look a bit closer, but I think they look a bit alike.
Yeah, those are some great connections. But can I just add one thing with this Pope thing? You know, he's born in 55, like you said earlier. You know, Satan equals 55. And he's born on the date 9/14. And what is wrong with me? Why am I 9/14 is the 257th day of the year. Okay, so the 257th day of the year, he's born in the year 55. What is the 55th prime number?
The 55th prime number is 257.
And he's born on the 257th day of the year. And he's born in the year 55. See,
yeah.
It's all connected to Satan.
Yeah, and he's born on the day leaving 108 too. So that connects to the 108 World Series thing.
I didn't even know that. Yeah, perfect. It connects to Elvis again. And Also, 914 looks like the number 614. The 6 and 9 upside down looks like Trump's birthday, 614.
And you know how this 149 connects to Elvis, Garo? And I know you don't really look at this, but this is something that we've proven. Because, you know, the Pope, so what is a lunation, Garo? It just means that they started counting every new moon since 1923. They started counting the moons. They're just giving each moon a number, right? That started in 1923. That started. And so on the Pope, or on Elvis's birthday, it was the 149th moon since they started counting. Well, that's the Pope's birthday, 149. And 149 is the gematria of Revelation and Antichrist. And but again, when was the Pope born? He was born when there was 404 moons, right? And that's the amount of verses in Revelation, 404 verses in Revelation. And again, Elvis born in 149 lunation.
I have a lot of stuff on 149. Elvis is born in 35. The year 35, the 35th prime is 149. And of course, JFK was the 35th president, you know, and 149 is the backwards date of 216, right?
Yeah. And did you see that they're born 7,555 days apart? Interesting, huh? And also 2025, the Pope and Elvis born 2025. It's kind of like a 2025 days apart, or 20 years, 250 days. But yeah, that's pretty much, that's the 149, the moon connection with Elvis, 149. And
anyway, listen, before you end the video, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say he's a sea goat, Elvis. Capricorn is a sea goat. Anyways, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to let everyone know I can't see the chat. So whoever's been talking of anything in the chat, I didn't see anybody's comments because I can't see the chat. And so anyone who's new, who wants to come and check out the videos, go ahead. Let me explain something to you guys. I'm not here to promote my channel. I'm here to get you guys out of Washington State before June 11th. Okay? I don't care about subscriber counts. All I want is for anyone you know to get out of Washington State before June 11th. Leave for just 1 day, 2 days. Just get out of Washington State before June 11th. That's all I'm asking. All right? Do you understand? Anyway, yeah. That's it, man.
All right. Well, I'll just say the final. I just want to thank all the people in the chat. Thanks to all of Garo's subscribers. I'm sorry I didn't get to any comments like I usually do. I was really distracted with me and Garo talking, but everyone in the chat, I might have missed your comments. Please write anything that's super important that you guys want to write in the comments of the video. Me, Garo, go back and read them if anyone has anything. And yeah, my buddy Sean is in the chat. Thank you. I didn't get a chance to see much of your comments, Sean, but thanks again. I'll try to go, or you can write me in Discord if you have something to share. But I know Joseph has been in the chat, and thank you to Joseph. Me and Garo both appreciate you, and he's talking about the Lead the World Behind and the 12/8 connections. So, and thank you, Coffee Girl. Thank you, Coffee Girl, for sharing Garo's channel. Coffee Girl's one of my best subscribers. So thank you for doing that. And let's see.
Oh, one last thing for anyone who, the needle is the most, a big part with Elvis, but we can't talk about every single thing. You know what I mean? Because Elvis was the first famous person to have anything to do with the Space Needle. Elvis was the first famous person to take an injection on live television. He did it on Bill Gates' first birthday. Bill Gates is born in Seattle, Washington, next to the needle. You know what I'm saying? Everything has to do with the needle. Then Trump is the one who brings out the needle, the father of the injection. And the year that Elvis took the needle, a horse called Needles won 2 out of the 3 of the Triple Crown. So the same year Elvis took the needle. So there's a lot of connections to the needle. But I didn't want to get into that, but I just was trying to let people know that there's so much connections with the Crown 19 to Elvis. And you know, if you watch my videos, you know what I'm talking about. And Elvis and, you know, Tom Hanks, he was the first famous person to have anything to do. I mean, he was the first famous person to get the 19 sickness. And what was he doing? Filming the Elvis movie. So again, that's all. There's so much to it, you know. That's it.
Yeah, that like I said, me and Gar just kind of wanted to touch on the main points here, and we can have him back on again at some point. You know, either right before June 11th or right after, and see, and just see what comes of it.
Definitely right before again. Yeah. All right, man. God bless you and God bless your chat. And like I said to everybody in the chat, I didn't see your comments, but come to the channel if you have any questions. But you need to get out of Washington State before June 11th. All right. Even if it's for a couple of days, get out of Washington State before June 11th.
Yeah, and Gar, don't forget the Jesus is God thing. You got to end with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I said God bless you, but you're right. I didn't say my favorite part. Jesus is God. Okay.
All right, Gar. Thanks so much.
Take care. God bless all of you.
All right, guys. So yeah, again, thanks to Garo, and thanks to all of you. And it's late here. It's 12:04 a.m. So I'm gonna get some sleep. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Garo again. I really appreciate him, and thank you to all of his amazing connections over the years that have helped me. And hopefully you guys got something from this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I will see you guys probably tomorrow with another collab. I think with you know, I think tomorrow I'll have another collab. We'll see. I'm supposed to go with Gematronatr, so we'll see what happens. And then next week I'll be appearing live on Ball Don't Lie's channel with Rambo and AJ. So lots of collaborations this week. So stay in tune for that. And as always, God bless you all. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.